Curse it. What the hell is this? Wei Xiao Bei woke up in dazed, felt weak and sore all over his body, a slight ache in his head, and stupidly staring at the ceiling, tried to recall and comprehend all the events before he passed out. He was gone drinking with some of his close friends, fell asleep, and the instant moment he opened his eyes, some kind of attribute information panel appeared in his mind. Was this related with something that emitted from the classic Shan Hai Jing in his hand? As Wei Xiao Bei recalled, there was blinding light emitted from the classic Shan Hai Jing before he fainted from drinking. Just as Wei Xiao Bei's finger touched the edge of the pillow, the Shan Hai Jing classic scripture suddenly vanished from his sight. A dim sunlight penetrating through the crack on Windows glass was getting dimmer, as if the night has slowly come. Wei Xiao Bei ignored the attribute information panel that popped up within his head, and quickly stood on his barefooted feet. As his fingers touched his hair, he felt like as if he hasn't took a bath for a week. The cuckoo sounds emitted out from his belly reminded him that he hadn't had something to eat for a whole day. As he tried to walk, he felt his head was so heavy as if it was pressed by mountain, and his mouth was reek of liquor smell. Wei Xiao Bei gently shook his head with his hands, took a long deep breath, and spittle smelled of alcohol spat out from his mouth. He remembered that he has nothing to eat, and slowly walked toward the kitchen. As he walked for 2 to 3 steps, Wei Xiao Bei suddenly stopped and stunned. What the hell is this? What the hell had happened here? Only a night passed by, just why and when did this house become so dilapidated? The floor and the table had all been covered by dust, the newly posted Zhan Liangying poster on the wall had been tattered and fully worn out. Why and when did his charming handsome face transformed into an old monster? Even his laughing face sent the chills down the spine. Cobwebs scattered and covered the wall like a mist. A withered orange and blackened rotten apple covered by mildew lay motionlessly on small table in the corner of the room, covered by filth as if it was taken from the mud, the aluminum frame windows glass grayed out as it was covered by thick ash, while layer of lights penetrated silk-sized small cracks on windows glass. A monitor screen on the table next to the bed had all been covered by cobwebs, accompanied with a dirty cup filled with filth covering a withered insect body inside. The air filled with a slightly choking smelly dust. Everything seemed so grayed out as if it was in black and white old movies. A night had gone by, and everything aged as if a century had passed. Mother, is this dream? It must be a dream. Wei Xiao Bei hurriedly walked back to his bed and closed his eyes. Maybe after he was fully awake, he will return to his former normal self. After his body turned over and back several times, Wei Xiao Bei finally realized that he wasn't in a dream, he was fully awake, and it seemed that everything was real. He turned up and slowly sitting on the bed, as he roughly fast rubbed his face, his mind quickly sobered and started to analyze everything. What the hell was happening here? Wasn't I gone drinking last night? How could this happen? Was this caused by some ghosts? Or was it only a prank? But he quickly ruled out the possibility that it was a prank, since he still could see the light from a tribute information panel in his head. It was impossible to manipulate things like this. Wei Xiao Bei felt his throat was parched dry and let out some misty breath reek with liquor smell. He recalled and fully remembered that he was really dead drunk last night. After realizing that something huge has changed his room interior, his mind was in a mess for a while, and slowly, after he come to his senses, Xiao Bei was somewhat felt restless and slightly panicked. He raised the thermos bottle, but it was empty. Wei Xiao Bei shook his head, it seemed that he must go out to buy some water to drink. However, when he touched his pants he found out that his wallet had disappeared. He turned over and walked toward the bathroom only to find the already torn and tattered clothes hanging on the wardrobe, no different with trashes from garbage can. Fortunately his cloth on the bed was still in good shape, though it was reek with sweat and liquor. Wei Xiao Bei unhurriedly got dressed, combed his hair with his 2 hands and opened the door to outside. The scene in the narrow small corridor in front him made his heart immediately got colder. Shabby torn wallpaper and an almost wrecked wall lamp confirmed his suspicion that there really was something happened both inside and outside his room. Wei Xiao Bei hurriedly walked to the next room, and knocking hard at the door with a slight hope that there would someone responded. The room was Zhou Lijun's, a sophomore, who moved out from the dormitory since he was a freshman to this rented apartment. Zhou Lijun was famous as a die-hard otaku, and most of his time was spent in his room, playing games day and night. He was said as pretty much successful in his otaku career and made a lot of money from gaming. Wei Xiao Bei continued knocking the door for a while only to find that no one responded, even nothing can be heard from inside the room. Xiao Bei bit his lips, and gritted his teeth, after hesitated for a little while he forcefully kicked Zhou Lijun's door. The landlord of this apartment was well known as a miser. All door locks he bought for this apartment's room were cheap and its quality were bad enough, and coupled with the door that had become dilapidated, the door immediately broken and knocked open after being hit by Wei Xiao Bei twice. Xiao Bei's heart became more restless and his face became tense as he saw the interior in Zhou Lijun's room. The floor, desk, and coffee table at the corner were covered by lime, even all of it seemed like it were aged so much, not much different with all properties inside his room. Wei Xiao Bei gritted his teeth and quickly turned over and hurriedly rushed from the rental apartment and looked toward the outside. Xiao Bei's room was in the first floor, and usually there was flower bed outside the apartment of which the landlord comprehensively used it. It was planted with garlic, green onions and other variety of vegetables. But what he was seeing right now, much adding to his suspicions, and he became more nervous as the flower bed was also became dilapidated, all the plants had withered without any slightest greenery could be seen as those yellowed and withered leaves covered the floor. A few broken rusty bikes were leaning on the wall next to the flower bed. It was as if there was a nuclear war occurred and hit the city, since the sky was grayed out coupled with the looming ruined building like it had long been deserted. Curse it was a true hell. It took more than 10 minutes for Xiao Bei to set his mind back in order and realized what he should do. There was no way anyone could maintain his calmness when they saw all the phenomena around him now. Even the soldier who recently got back from the battlefield would have been felt overwhelmed by this kind of strange, frightening scenery. How should he live to continue living in such a damned place? Even he didn't know if other places would have the same occurrence or not. Xiao Bei was a veteran soldier, who just got retired and recently came back from a battlefield. He had no worries for his constitution and his body has always been in a good shape. Moreover, he was also famous as one of the most mentally and psychologically stable among the soldiers in his division. Even the attribute information panel that popped up within his head showed that his willpower attribute of 12 points was the highest of all his attributes. 1 military dagger, a disposable cigarette lighter, 3 empty bottles, 1 small package of salt, and small rucksack. Xiao Bei took the military dagger from Zhou Lijun's drawer. He never thought that the usually seemed honest and harmless Zhou Lijun was hiding such a lethal weapon in his possession. There was a proverb that said, "Don't disturb a leopard out of its domain." It could presumably be appropriate for Zhou Lijun's case. He was perhaps looked honest, gentle and harmless, but restless and ferocious within, though perhaps it was suppressed and only came out by external stimulus. The sharp edge of the dagger had rusted in some small part, but it was even better than if he must bring rusty steel pipe everywhere. Wei Xiao Bei wetting the dagger on the whetstone for few more times before the slightly rusted part was back to its former sharpness. He finally stopped as the rusty part from the dagger's sharp edge gone. He let out a slightly satisfied smile after scrutinizing its sharpness. He quickly put a lighter which he could use to make some fire and lighting into his pocket. Empty bottles can be filled with water and salt was as important as weapon and essential for survival. There were few porn magazines taken by Xiao Bei from Zhou Lijun's drawer, and he could use it as toilet paper when needed, since it was better to have his ass wiped by papers than having it wiped by some hardwood chip. Wei Xiao Bei realized that the world was probably had become chaotic and the only thing he knew that he must strive to survive. He wouldn't let anything that could be useful for his survival got wasted. Xiao Bei inserted the dagger in the belt on his waist, took the empty bottles with his right hand and put the rest in the backpack. He carefully opened the door and slowly walked outside. A cool breeze autumn wind was blown over him when he came out of the apartment and the withered leaves on the ground rolled and whirling near him, and the slight chills filling the air made Xiao Bei slightly shook and trembled. For a little while Xiao Bei calmed his heart, and laughed. It seemed that he was too nervous and tense. He continued walking past the flower bed and finally arrived at the courtyard gate in a short while. His apartment was located at the urban and rural area of Lake City. It was a developing city which was constantly expanding and has a thriving economy. Even the farmers here could make some money by converting part of their small farm and built a rental apartment which would give them a considerable income. Many white collars, gray collars, and blue collars who were struggling to survive the life in the city had rented a small cheap apartment here. And because their workplaces were pretty far from the apartment, they had to wake up at least an hour and a half more early than their usual habit, and they must eat a thin pancake with soybean milk while standing and waiting for the bus and subway when they went to their workplaces. Such situations were common in major cities in every country. The surrounding scenery outside the courtyard was as chaotic as Xiao Bei had guessed before. Garbage were scattered on a small sandy road on both sides of the farmhouse. Even half of building walls around the courtyard had been partially collapsed. The extreme conditions of the surrounding area left Wei Xiao Bei's heart became more restless and colder. Xiao Bei continued walking next to the wall, and cautiously stepped forward. He remembered that there was a cafeteria nearby, which was located in front of the canteen that sold liquors fermented from rice. The store was owned by San Quan, a farmer who lived nearby. The liquor was perhaps not as good as the original brand it was imitating, but at least it was good enough for him. He stopped walking after a short while. A facade of the canteen appeared in front of him, and the store sign on top of the building had already been cut off in half, and it seemed that the shop had been deserted for a long time. Xiao Bei still clearly remembered the fat ant whose name became the sign of her own store. Half of the shutter aluminum door had been gone for he didn't know how long, and leaving one side opened wide. Wei Xiao Bei lowered his body and strode half-ducked forward into the canteen. The inside of the shop was pretty dusky and Xiao Bei lighted up his lighter. A little yellow flame dimly illuminated the shop. Wei Xiao Bei started to observe everything inside the shop and search something he could scavenge. Most of the foods he found here had been rotten already, and after searching more carefully, Xiao Bei finally found 2 boxes mineral water, and a box of biscuits with unknown expiry date. Xiao Bei quickly opened the bottle and drank the mineral water inside as the thirst made his throat felt as if it was going to get burned. Wonderful! The restlessness was partially gone from Xiao Bei's heart, and replaced with some happiness as he drank a bottle of mineral water in one breath. Xiao Bei was finally understood the meaning behind happiness. A person could only felt happiness when he finally acquired something he really needed after striving hard for it. Xiao Bei put some mineral water bottles and a few packets of biscuits into his backpack. His backpack was not big enough to hold many things, and he eventually put 5 bottles and 10 packets of biscuits in it. He put the rest of the bottles and biscuits package at the corner of the canteen, as he was planning that he would retrieve it later. So many things had happened and without him knowing anything made Xiao Bei started to feel a surge of tiredness in his heart. Oh! Suddenly, Xiao Bei heard a vague sound from the outside. He quickly grabbed the empty bottle and took the military dagger from his waist, and stepped forward to the shutter and carefully looked toward the street outside. Whole muscles in his body were tense and restless. Garbage plastic bags were flying and scattered on the street outside, and Xiao Bei saw a man wearing a t-shirt and a jeans run and chased by a giant blue greasy insect-like slug behind him. The slug was as thick as a man's waist and about 1 meter long. Nobody would have thought that such kind of insect-like slug, given the size of it, could called cute or even lovable. Only sick and disgusted feeling could come out from a slug like that. Xiao Bei didn't even have a time to feel disgusted for this small slug. He was just stupefied, while seeing the man was running in fear. Only at that moment did Xiao Bei realize that he recognized the running man. He faintly remembered that he had seen him before, near the street side stalls. He was wearing a security uniform at that time, and he loved eating noodles. However, Xiao Bei couldn't recall this running man's name at all. It was unknown if the giant slug sense was too sensitive or not, but it seemed aware that Xiao Bei had moved near the broken shutter door as its two tentacles-like antennae was pointing out to the canteen. Traces of blue electricity sparked quietly between the two antennae and a line of sharp small teeth when it opened its mouth, leaving a taste of horror for anyone who saw it. This giant slug undoubtedly was not some kind of friendly thing. Anyone wouldn't have to be an expert to find out what those glimmering sharp small teeth meant to be. Seeing how the giant slug abruptly slowed its pace down, the man suddenly accelerated his speed, an attempt to escape. However, in that moment there was sparkling blue electricity flashing from the giant slug antennae, and it took less than a second for the spark to pass through 5 m distance and accurately strike the running man's back. Electrical currents leaped up and down the running man's body until he collapsed to the ground. Indecisiveness leads to disaster. After hesitating a moment, Wei Xiao Bei exerted all his strength and threw the empty wine bottle towards the slug. Crackle! A thunderous sound echoed as the slug worked its antennae and fired another blue lightning, breaking the sound barrier. In Wei Xiao Bei's eyes, the empty wine bottle did not even reach 5 meters before it was struck by the lightning. Bang! The empty wine bottle exploded, scattering glass shards in all directions. Wei Xiao Bei originally thought that the slug would not be able to fire lightning again after firing once, due to lack of energy, so he was very surprised at its cheat-like ability. This scene did not scare Wei Xiao Bei at all. On the contrary, it made him even more excited, as the blood in his body pumped faster. The feeling he had of being stranded instantly disappeared. Wei Xiao Bei secretly cursed in his heart and let out a low growl. He strode outside and threw another empty wine bottle with his right hand. Probably because the air-breaking lightning consumed huge amounts of energy, the slug needed a certain amount of time to accumulate electrical energy. Therefore, Wei Xiao Bei's throw was able to accurately hit one of the slug's antennae. This was not something normal people could do. If Wei Xiao Bei was not a former soldier, if he did not have a high hit rate with a hand grenade, or if he did not have a good amount of luck, he might have missed the mark. The giant slug's antenna was incredibly fragile and extremely sensitive. When the bottle hit it, the antenna discharged lightning in all directions, and then curled in pain. Taking the opportunity while the enemy was down, Wei Xiao Bei charged towards the side of the slug. Dagger in his right hand, he pierced it in the slug's head. Wei Xiao Bei, himself, did not know why he did what he did. Was it to save others, or was it to save himself? However, there was only one thing in his mind: kill the slug. Wei Xiao Bei clearly felt that the giant slug's exterior was actually quite tough. He was only able to insert the dagger about half a centimeter before its thick muscles pressed together, stopping the blade from moving forward. He suddenly felt his hands burning. Looking down, he discovered the blue-colored juice sputtered out from the wound, sticking to his hands like glue. This blue juice was corrosive. The giant slug did everything it could to struggle and almost rid itself of the dagger. Wei Xiao Bei was now unable to do anything. If the giant slug were to regain its strength and shoot lightning again, he would definitely be unable to escape. He fiercely growled and violently pushed down the dagger with both of his hands. Spurt! The sharp dagger instantly pierced through a layer of muscle, but more blue juice covered Wei Xiao Bei's hands. He felt as if they were soaking in boiling water, and almost let go of the dagger. However, Wei Xiao Bei knew that this was a critical moment of life and death, so he dared not tolerate single bit of carelessness. Kill! He shouted, spread his legs, and twisted his waist to move his arms. With all his strength, he strongly pulled down the dagger, leaving a 30-centimeter long wound on the giant slug's body. The giant slug immediately thrashed around, having received such a heavy wound. Because of its struggle, the front of Wei Xiao Bei's body became covered in the blue juice. His body felt as if it were in an oven, and he lost the strength to hold on to the dagger. Then he was sent flying by the giant slug towards a metal trash can a few meters away. Crap! Wei Xiao Bei could not even shout out curses anymore as the blue juice corroded the front half of his body, sending him in extreme pain. He almost couldn't open his eyes anymore, and the pain in his stomach after hitting the trash can was so painful that he felt like he was dying. The giant slug was too strong, to the point that it could probably lift up a calf. With its endless vitality, it thrashed on the ground like a fish out of water. Wei Xiao Bei struggled to open his eyes and looked at the giant slug. He was secretly terrified after seeing that the blue juice spurting out of the giant slug was slowing down, and even the wound was slowly closing up. However, what horrified Wei Xiao Bei the most was that the giant slug's antennae were once again sparkling with lightning. Not good. Wei Xiao Bei knew that worms had tenacious vitality. If it were a human injured like that, they would probably have been close to death. If time continued to drag on, he would probably earn himself a free trip to the Yellow River after the giant slug accumulated enough electricity. Curse it! His entire body was in so much pain that he could not even muster any strength. He regretted the fact that, after retiring, due to his life being constantly on the move, he had worked out less. Even his stomach protruded slightly. Calm down. I must remain calm. The more panicked people were, the more the energy they consumed, thus entering a state of weakness. What's more, his stomach might now have internal injuries. Wei Xiao Bei extended his tongue and bit it. The pain from his tongue was transmitted to his body, immediately lessening the pain. However, this was not enough. He placed his right thumb on the web between the left thumb and forefinger, and gave it a strong pinch which lessened the pain in his stomach. This could be counted as one of Wei Xiao Bei's skills. During the countryside survival training he had when he was in the army, he regularly met with occasions where clean food was impossible to obtain, thereby causing diarrhea. He would then do the same thing to lessen the pain in his stomach, allowing him to maintain his concealed position. Naturally, this was only a temporary effect. He felt a bit of his strength return after the pain in his stomach subsided. However, the dagger had fallen on the blue puddle, which might have already corroded it. Wei Xiao Bei searched through his backpack for something he could use against the giant slug. Oh! Salt! A smile instantly appeared on Wei Xiao Bei's corroded and swollen face. He strove to stand up and once again charged towards the giant slug. He already stopped caring about any possible counterattacks from the giant slug. After getting close to the giant slug, he carefully evaded its thrashing body and opened the bag of salt, pouring the contents into the giant slug's wound. When the salt landed on the slug's wound, it looked like a man who had been kicked in the groin. The slug exploded into the sky in the next instant, flying up a dozen meters before falling down. At this moment, the slug suddenly thrashed even harder. It kept on striking the pavement, leaving craters on it. Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but be secretly shocked. If he had not quickly retreated, he would have been hit by the slug. Whether or not the blow would have resulted in broken bones, he wouldn't have been able to stand anymore. While the slug struggled, Wei Xiao Bei did not just stand aside to enjoy the scene. Instead, he poured salt on his hands and waited for the slug to stop struggling. Then, he wiped the salt on its wound, causing it to struggle again. The slug could not regenerate due to being repeatedly rubbed with salt. Its juice, which had since changed from blue to blue-green, continuously bubbled out of its wound. Before Wei Xiao Bei's salt ran out, the giant slug finally stopped moving. The slug's current appearance was completely different from its original appearance, becoming incredibly shriveled, similar to a dried corpse. Its bright blue color had turned into a disgusting blue-green. The blue-green juice gave off a stifling fishy stink, spreading all over the place. A single whiff was like eating crap that was fermented for 2 to 3 days. Wei Xiao Bei, however, had just been through a life and death battle, so the smell did not really affect him. The status panel in his mind showed a few changes, but he was currently not in the mood to study it. Instead, he went to find a wooden stick and carefully poked the giant slug a few times. Seeing as he couldn't feel any signs of life from the slug, he could safely say that the giant slug was truly dead. Wei Xiao Bei finally relaxed his breathing. All of the exhaustion and pain that he had suppressed bubbled forth as he sat down, no longer wanting to move. However, Wei Xiao Bei knew that it was not yet the time for him to relax. Now that one giant slug had appeared, there was a possibility that a second one, a third one, or maybe even a bigger monster could appear. He must go back. From his point of view, the apartment was the safest option. As he thought this, Wei Xiao Bei at once struggled to get on his feet. But while returning to the apartment, he suddenly smelled a faint fragrance. This fragrance was very strange. It was not the fragrance of flowers that he had seen before, nor was it an artificial fragrance. On the contrary, it smelled like cooked meat. Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but swallow as the smell lured out his appetite and saliva. This fragrance was definitely a bit strange. He had previously eaten until he was full in the small store. It should be impossible for him to be this hungry in such a short amount of time, no matter how fast the food digested. Wei Xiao Bei wriggled his nose like a dog. The stink from the rotting corpse of the giant slug enhanced the fragrance, making it even easier to detect. After circling once, he concluded that the fragrance came from inside the giant slug's corpse. In truth, he almost vomited as he approached the corpse and gave it a whiff. The combination of the stink and fragrance was more unbearable than anything he had experienced. However, Wei Xiao Bei could not just give up his search for the origin of the fragrance. Before, he was still better off, since his stomach just growled a few times. But now, he itched to find the origin. To be more accurate, the fragrance had stimulated his hunger. He extended his hand and poked the dead slug. His head ached. Without any knives, how was he going to open up the slug's tough skin? Even if it had died, its skin's properties had not changed. After poking at the slug's wound with a wooden stick, he luckily spotted the dagger that he let go of. To be more accurate, it should not even be called a dagger anymore. The dagger had already transformed a lot due to the blue juice's corrosion. The handle had disappeared, and the original 25-centimeter blade had shrunk to around 10 centimeters. Wei Xiao Bei wiped the blade with a soft cloth. Stunned, he examined the blade in his hand. Normally, the blade would be unusable and lighter after being corroded by the blue liquid. Instead, what was left of the blade had become much heavier than the original. Furthermore, after wiping it, the blade became even more dazzling, as if it had been painted with mercury. It was clear that the changes to the dagger after being corroded could not be explained simply. Wei Xiao Bei did not have time to question this occurrence. Instead, he found two soft pieces of wood to serve as a new handle, placed the blade in between, and bound it with a cloth, creating a simple but crude knife. Afterwards, he frowned as he used the small knife to cut open the slug, all the while enduring the smell. Wei Xiao Bei retched upon fully cutting open the slug due to the strong stench flowing from the corpse. After retching, he once again tried to endure the smell, using a wooden stick to poke around the dissected corpse. What is this? Wei Xiao Bei pulled out a meatball the size of a fist from inside the slug's corpse. The meatball was connected to a few strands of blue muscle. Following the blue muscle, he noticed that it was connected to the antennae. Moreover, the antennae let out a few sparks when he touched it. This meatball must be the organ that produced electricity. There were a few animals on Earth that could produce electricity, for instance the well-known electric eel. The two sides of an electric eel's body was covered with tens of thousands of tiny electricity generators that were capable of generating 650 volts of electricity to kill its foes. However, the slug's meatball was slightly different. It was solid to the touch. A liquid could be seen flowing inside of its translucent flesh. He moved it closer to his nose to give it a whiff and smelled an enticing strong fragrance. There was no doubt that the fragrance emitted from the meatball. Wei Xiao Bei put away the meatball and used the stick to poke around some more. After he could not find anything more that attracted his attention, he returned to the small store and grabbed a few more hardtacks. He picked up his backpack and prepared to return. Before returning, he walked over to the fallen man to check on his situation. A huge scar from the lightning could be seen on the man's back. The body showed no signs of life as it gave off a faint meaty smell. Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but feel speechless from the electricity that the giant slug was able to produce. It was important to know that the electrical resistance of air was high. Although the air was currently moist, which decreased the electrical resistance, breaking through 20 meters of air resistance would need the output voltage to be more than 100,000 volts. The more Wei Xiao Bei thought about it, the more lucky he felt. When the giant slug had noticed Wei Xiao Bei's existence, the man ran quicker. This attracted the slug's attention, leading to the slug launching its attack on the man first. Otherwise, Wei Xiao Bei might have been the one who died since he was so close to the door. Wei Xiao Bei offered the nameless man a moment of silence. Then, he steadied his mind, and searched the man's pockets for something useful. Sigh. This man did not have anything on him other than this business card. Name, Guanming Jun, position, Dexing parking lot guard. Guanming Jun was not a bad name, unfortunately, he was already dead. Fear for this world arose as Wei Xiao Bei looked at the corpse. He did not know whether this was a dream or reality. Wei Xiao Bei thought that it would have been better if this Guanming Jun were still alive, that way he could have received information about what happened. But now, that man's only worth was to lie down on the ground and give off the smell of rotting flesh. He dragged Guanming Jun's corpse to a courtyard close by and covered it up with trash since he did not have the time or mood to dig him a grave. Wei Xiao Bei needed to quickly return to the safety of the apartment for shelter. After the slug's death, the street became quiet once again, causing Wei Xiao Bei to tense up. He was afraid that another monster like the giant slug would pounce towards him. As he reached the apartment without further incident, he felt his luck must have taken a turn for the better. He closed the courtyard gate and the apartment doors. Then he used broken bowls, iron wires, and other various objects to create a makeshift alarm. Only after the alarm was completed was he able to relax. Upon returning to his room, Wei Xiao Bei sat on the bedside. The scene of him fighting the giant slug still lingered in his mind. He had never encountered such an exciting situation before, even as a former soldier. Being able to see blood during training was already not bad for a soldier in times of peace. Naturally, special forces were in a different situation from him. Wei Xiao Bei's willpower remained firm, and he quickly put the scene of the fight behind his mind. With a careless movement, his entire body began to sting, bringing him back to the reality of his situation. He extended his hand, took out the meatball, and wiped the remaining juices on it. The more he wiped off the stinky juice, the meatball's fragrance became more tempting. It was so fragrant to the point that he began to salivate, and his stomach followed with a growl. At this time, the status panel once again appeared in his mind. Name, Wei Xiao Bei. Race, human. Gender, male. Age, 21. Creature rank, 1 star. Status, the average adult male status value is 10, lightly wounded. All stats are decreased by 20%. Strength, 8.4, muscle, 11, sturdiness, 10. Agility, 7.8, hand-eye coordination, 9, flexibility, 11, reflex, 11, balance, 8. Vitality, 8, health, 9, endurance, 11. Intelligence, 5.6, learning, 6, reasoning, 8. Awareness, 7.4, willpower, 12, judgment, 8, perception, 7, intuition, 10. Charm, 5.76, courage, 10, persuasiveness, 7, character, 7, leadership, 5, appearance, 7. Skills, shooting, intermediate, military boxing, intermediate, electrical work, beginner. Special skills, none. Evolution point, 100. Item on hand, Thunderworm electric ball. Wei Xiao Bei did not really care about the lightly wounded status nor the 20% decrease in stats at all. He only felt that his body, compared to before, had weakened a huge amount. He noticed two changes that happened to the status panel. One was that his evolution points had become 100, and the other was his items. He could not help but pay full attention to the new words, Thunderworm Electric Ball. Soon after, another panel popped up with explanations. Thunderworm Electric Ball, 2-star creature Thunderworm's electricity generating organ. Not poisonous. Edible. Usage unknown. So it seems that giant slug was called a thunderworm. Should I eat this? This idea appeared in Wei Xiao Bei's mind. He couldn't help but be surprised by his own thoughts. What the hell am I thinking? He had been through a survival training when he was a soldier. He had eaten earthworms, locusts, snakes, caterpillars and other things before, and sometimes he even ate them raw. However, he knew that worms and snakes did not have any poison. Even if caterpillars had poison in them, he knew how to deal with it. However, the meatball came from the giant slug. Even when disregarding everything else, just the fact that the giant slug's juices had the property to corrode made it hard to believe that the meatball wasn't poisonous. Even if he knew the thunderworm electric ball was not poisonous, it was still difficult for him to accept it. I can't eat this. Wei Xiao Bei instantly rejected this idea that floated up from his mind. He lied on the bed and prepared to rest, forgetting to inspect the 100 evolution points that appeared in his status panel. The battle with the giant slug had tired him out. Even as he lied down on the bed, the stinging pain continued to assault Wei Xiao Bei's entire body, almost making him lose consciousness. However, the stinging pain from his corroded skin simply did not allow him to fall asleep. The best he could do was close his eyes and rest. After a while, Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but grab the meatball and give it a squeeze. The meatball immediately let out a fragrance that stifled him. It smelled so attractive that various food like fried chicken leg, braised pork, kung pao chicken, beef steak floated up in Wei Xiao Bei's mind. This was truly an unendurable torture. The urge to consume the meatball kept rising in his mind, while his stomach kept growling. Wei Xiao Bei did not know why the smell made his stomach so hungry. The allure of the fragrance had completely made him lose all urges to eat the hardtack. Torture. Endurance. Impulse. These three things interweaved together, and were about to be the death of him. After enduring for God knows how long, Wei Xiao Bei's gaze was already lifeless. He unconsciously grabbed the meatball with his right hand and moved it to his mouth. First bite, second bite, third bite, and it's gone. Only after it was gone did Wei Xiao Bei notice that he had already eaten the meatball, without leaving anything left over. Vomit. Wei Xiao Bei immediately felt nauseous. The blue juice left on his hand let out a strange odor, indicating that the meatball was definitely not as delicious as it smelled. Vomit. After coming to his senses, Wei Xiao Bei hastily stuck his hand down his throat to make himself puke out the meatball. He did not want to die from food poisoning just like this. However, the only thing he was able to vomit out was the disgusting mixture of the hardtack. Not even a single trace of the meatball came out. After vomiting, he began to feel dizzy and eventually just resigned to his fate. Since it had become like this, he could not care any less. So what if I die? I have nothing in my life anyways. Wei Xiao Bei made a bitter smile. Wei Xiao Bei's life was the same as any normal commoner. His household was a very normal household. His father was a worker at a state-run factory. His mother was a grade school teacher. It was an extremely normal family. When he was in grade school, Wei Xiao Bei had big dreams. He dreamt about becoming many things, a scientist, a general, a millionaire, or other similar careers. His grades were also very outstanding. He was a child who wanted things that suited his brilliance. However, after entering junior high, the streets full of arcades and videotape rental stores had attracted Wei Xiao Bei. After he almost failed getting into a county high school, he had gone from being an outstanding student to a bad student, who frequently skipped classes. After failing his college exams, his parents had simply sent him to enlist in the army. Wei Xiao Bei was once again able to renew his passion in the army. Although he was not able to obtain a third-class merit medal, he was able to obtain a few outstanding soldier medals. The military leader had even said that Wei Xiao Bei was a natural-born soldier. For this reason, the military leader recommended Wei Xiao Bei for military college. If Wei Xiao Bei was able to pass, then it would have been a good opportunity for advancement. However, the Wei Xiao Bei, who loathed studying, was unable to pass, and in the end, he retired from the army and returned home. He thought that returning to his hometown to find work would be easy after his fine performance in the army. However, he had underestimated the world. After returning to his hometown, he found that the only place that would accept him was an almost bankrupt power plant. He worked for 2 months before he personally submitted his resignation. He then moved to Chuihu City and became one of its contractual workers. Wei Xiao Bei would have a slight regret every time he recalled all this. If he had studied better in the past, he could have entered into Tsinghua University, Peking University, or even Fudan University, and then he would have been a department manager in some place by now. Even his current boss was a normal college graduate. However, there was no pill for regret in this world. Wei Xiao Bei was originally going to work like this for the rest of his life. When he reached a certain age, he would return to his hometown and open a small store, and maybe find someone to marry along the way. However, fate seemed to have something new in store for him. Waiting for his unknown fate was a cruel situation to be in. Wei Xiao Bei rubbed his slightly aching stomach, while lying on the bed. The moldy smell entered his nose, causing him to go into a sneezing fit. If I die, then I die. Wei Xiao Bei did not know how, but after sneezing a few times, he was able to fully relax and take a rest. The events that happened after he woke up had almost split his mind in half. Only now was he able to relax a bit and feel the exhaustion sink in. After a while, Wei Xiao Bei unconsciously sunk into the land of dreams. Fight as we're ordered, do as we're told. Train in your guns, bayonets, and hand grenades. Take aim and shoot. A short and powerful song roused Wei Xiao Bei from his sleep. This song was something he had learnt while in the army. He was not clear about the lyrics, but remembered it was called something like Army Training Song. It was a song often sung before eating meals. A group of old people would roar it with their coarse throats and then charge towards the dining hall. They were so energetic and full of vigor, like hungry tigers coming down from the mountains. This was without a doubt one of the only memories Wei Xiao Bei had in the past. Wei Xiao Bei's first reaction after waking up was to extend his hand and grab the empty wine bottle beside his bed, but his hand only grasped air. This had surprised his muddled mind, and he immediately opened his eyes. He was still in the apartment room, lying on the bed, while the mobile phone alarm beside his pillow rung. Something's wrong. Wei Xiao Bei propped up his body and looked around the room. The dust on the floor and table had disappeared. The poster of Zhang Liangying, that he had posted up a few days ago, still looked brand new. Zhang Liangying's charming face still remained blindingly brilliant. The oranges and apples on his coffee table were not rotten. The aluminum frame window that the landlord had just installed was not covered with neither white ash nor cracks. In short, his room had returned back to its original state. What is happening? Could everything have been a dream? But wasn't it a bit too realistic? Wei Xiao Bei came back to his senses. He immediately touched his waist and found something hard on his belt. It was the dagger that he found from the shut-in's room, only it had shrunk to the size of a pencil and lost its handle. This was the result from being corroded by the slug's juices. Wei Xiao Bei was shocked. He then touched his pocket, discovering that the lighter was still there. He looked inside the tattered bag beside his bed and found at the water, the hardtack, the erotic magazine, and even Guanming Jun's business card were still inside. Wei Xiao Bei's back broke out into a cold sweat. What the hell? What the hell is happening? Was I dreaming or was that actually real? Wei Xiao Bei rubbed his head. He turned off the mobile phone alarm and sat on the bed for a while. He stared blankly outside at the dawn sky as his brain went into overdrive. He had previously woken up to a world that seemed as if 100 years had passed, where almost everything was tattered and broken. He had found a dagger, went towards the small store and found water and food. He met with the man and the slug, eliminated the slug, and then unconsciously ate the meatball. After thinking for a long while, Wei Xiao Bei still could not understand what was happening. However, he no longer needed to think much about it anymore as his stomach suddenly overturned just like the seas and rivers. It was so painful that his face turned completely white, having no choice but to grab a roll of paper and charge to the toilet. Rumble. 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 A string of fart-like noises exploded forth from the toilet. Soon, a horrible stink spread, almost causing Wei Xiao Bei to retch. He looked down and found that his butt was almost in contact with the liquid inside the toilet. The white urinal had already changed color. There were huge amounts of dark bloodstains and even meat-like pieces in it. Wei Xiao Bei's face paled at the thought that he was going to die soon. After a while, he disregarded the thought. Now, the pain from his stomach had lessened and his body felt incredibly relaxed after relieving himself. After cleaning the toilet and washing his butt, Wei Xiao Bei once again lied down on the bed and paid attention to his status panel. The reason was because changes had appeared in his status panel. Name, Wei Xiao Bei. Race, human. Gender, male. Age, 21. Creature rank, 1 star. Status, the average adult male's status value is 10. Strength, 10.5, muscle, 11, sturdiness, 10. Agility, 9.75, hand-eye coordination, 9, flexibility, 11, reflex, 11, balance, 8. Vitality, 10, health, 9, endurance, 11. Intelligence, 7, learning, 6, reasoning, 8. Awareness, 9.25, willpower, 12, judgment, 8, perception, 7, intuition, 10. Charm, 7.2, courage, 10, persuasiveness, 7, character, 7, leadership, 5, appearance, 7. Skills, shooting, intermediate, military boxing, intermediate, electrical work, beginner. Special skill, release electricity, maximum strength 5 volts. Maximum current 1 mA. This skill was formed after Wei Xiao Bei ate the thunderworm electric ball. Maintaining a constant output for a long period could allow this skill to level up. Using this while exercising would stimulate strength and slowly increase agility. Evolution point, 100. Item on hand, none. The item on hand disappeared, since he had swallowed the thunderworm electric ball after all. However, the effects of eating the thunderworm electric ball while he was muddle-headed had appeared. He had obtained a special skill. Release electricity. Wei Xiao Bei grabbed a ballpoint pen and produced a small spark between his fingers and its tip. So weak. This was Wei Xiao Bei's first thought after releasing electricity. After seeing the electrical power the thunderworm produced, Wei Xiao Bei held contempt with the small amount of power he obtained. The cause of the suffering that I experienced should due to the appearance of this special skill, but is this really all there is? The electricity that he could produce was only 5 volts and 1 mA. Whose idea was this? A human body would still be safe even if it was exposed to 24 volts of electricity and the safety limit for electric current was 10 mA. The amount of electricity that Wei Xiao Bei could release was only enough to recharge his phone battery. The electric current was so worthless, it could only cause numbness in one finger. Apart from this, it did not have any offensive power at all. The good thing about this was that as long as he continued to release electricity, it would slowly level up. If he used it while exercising, his strength and agility would also increase. The other thing he noticed was that the lightly wounded status had disappeared, and his status had returned to normal values. After thinking about it, Wei Xiao Bei felt that there was no loss. Right, there's still the evolution points. Wei Xiao Bei finally remembered about the evolution points. A panel that seemed to explain about evolution points appeared as he thought about it. Evolution points, obtained by killing creatures from the dust world. Capable of increasing the sub-attributes of any status, skills and even special skills. It is difficult to obtain, so be careful in using them. Wei Xiao Bei hesitated after seeing the explanation. He pondered for a bit. If these evolution points were actually the real deal, where should I put them? Wei Xiao Bei had only obtained these points after fighting to the death with the thunderworm, so these points were indeed hard to obtain. He did not want to waste a single point at all, especially after almost dying. He inspected the status panel, causing more explanatory panels to appear. The information in them was almost enough to explain the happenings of his current situation. The world that he entered after waking up from his hangover was called the Dust World. The Dust World, a world that had a foot in reality, but at the same time, was its own individual world. The things and buildings that he had seen in the Dust World were most likely objects in the real world that had been projected into it. However, the Dust World had a special property of turning the things projected into it into ruins. Naturally, the information about the Dust World only covered trivial matters. What mattered to him the most right now was his status. Based on the status panel, the average status value of a human was 10, so Wei Xiao Bei's status could be regarded as outstanding. Wei Xiao Bei was slightly proud that his strength value was much more higher than the value of a normal person. It could be seen from the status panel that strength was determined by muscle and sturdiness. Wei Xiao Bei's muscle was 11 points, and his sturdiness was 10 points. Combining them together gave 10.5 points to his strength. This value was higher than an average man's by 5%. It was not really that much higher than an average man, but the average of 10 points would have been found after summing up the strength of all adult men and dividing it by the amount of adult men surveyed. In other words, a normal college freshman would have at least 6 points in strength, while an adult man working in civil services would have at least 7 points, and an adult man doing hard labor in construction sites would have a strength exceeding 10 points. As for professional boxers, commandos and others, they would have at least 13 points. On the other hand, a normal adult woman's strength would be less than an adult man's strength by 3 to 4 points. Wei Xiao Bei's strength had without a doubt exceeded the majority of adult males by at least 15%. This proportion was already quite good. Having a 10% higher strength value was enough to gain an advantage in most one-on-one fights. For the same reason, Wei Xiao Bei's 9.75 points agility had also exceeded the normal adult man by quite a bit. Among the sub-attributes, his flexibility and reflexes were rather high. This signified that if Wei Xiao Bei was in a fight, the speed of his fists would be a lot faster than a normal adult man by more than 20%, hitting the enemy before they could even swing a punch. However, his balance was mediocre at only 8 points. This was probably the reason why he was always slow when crossing the balance beam when he was in the army. His vitality was 10 points, and in it, he had 9 points in health. This means that his health was very normal compared to his other stats. Although he could not avoid common diseases like colds, the symptoms should not have that much effect on his body. However, if his luck was bad, he could still have a serious illness. His 11 points on endurance meant that he was better than most people in long-distance running. An important point that needed to be mentioned was Wei Xiao Bei's intelligence. It was only 7 points, which was not high at all. Under his intelligence was a 6 points in learning. This was below the majority of adult men. Luckily, his 8 points in reasoning was able to pull his status up a bit, but his Intelligence was mediocre compared to most of his stats. This also clearly explained what happened to his past grades. His awareness was at 9.25 points. Under it was his willpower at 12 points. This was the attribute with the highest value in his status. Willpower's value was without a doubt a decisive factor on success and failure. A man with strong will would never give up easily in the face of most obstacles and setbacks in his path. It could even be assumed that if Wei Xiao Bei's willpower was not high enough, he would not be able to take the pain and instead, be killed by the Thunder Worm. After all, the Thunder Worm was a 2-star life form. Although Wei Xiao Bei had not yet grasped the significance of it being a 2-star life form, he was only a 1-star, so the gap was still evident. The reason why his awareness was low was obviously attributed to his 8 points in judgment and 7 in perception. Under the main attributes, Wei Xiao Bei's charm attribute had the most lowest sub-attributes. His 7 points in both character and appearance indicated that his looks and temperament were normal. And his 7 points in persuasiveness signified that his eloquence was mediocre. To sum it all up, the total of his main attributes was 53.7, or out of the 60 total average value, his attributes were lower by 6.3 points. However, Wei Xiao Bei did not feel disheartened. This was never a big deal from the start, since he had a few attributes that were on average. The skills below his 6 attributes, namely shooting, military boxing, and electrical work, were things that he had learned before. The words in the parenthesis signified how skilled he was in those specific fields. Beginner would be the lowest rank and intermediate was the second rank. Wei Xiao Bei had yet to see any higher rank, so he did not know what they were. Wei Xiao Bei's electrical work skill did not meet the standard for working with the real estate company. If he did, that Zhang Mi-Fu, engineer Zhang, would not have sent him to work in the high-voltage electrical room. After all, that place did not need a high-level electrical knowledge. He only needed to make copies of the data inside, and if a problem appeared, he would work together with another electrician to solve the problem, but the problems were never that big. Should I place the evolution points in the main attributes, the skills, or the special skill? This was his current question. Wei Xiao Bei hesitated for a bit, but he came to his senses when he heard the sound of people outside and the sound of car horns. He disregarded everything. Not being left in that world was already a very happy thing for him. I'll think about the points allocation later. Wei Xiao Bei grabbed his mobile phone and checked the time. It was already 7:30 a.m. Today is Monday and my work is 8:30 in the morning. Crap. My salary will be cut if I'm late. Curse those capitalists. Wei Xiao Bei quickly got up from the bed and quickly brushed his teeth and washed his face. He picked up his wallet and mobile phone, then changed his clothes. Just as he was about to leave, he stopped in hesitation. In the end, he decided to wrap the dagger with a strip of cloth and tie it to his lower leg. The thing that was a bit strange was that the dagger had not been included in the item on hand. He thought that there must be some sort of qualification for it. Wei Xiao Bei opened the door and saw that his neighbors were also leaving their rooms one by one. This made him feel a trace of warmth. No matter who it was, a person who came back from the dust world would feel as if they returned to the human world when looking at this scene. Good morning, Sister Li. The noise you were making with Brother Huang yesterday night kept me up all night. A beautiful and slender woman wearing a professional suit came out from the opposite side. Following her was a 30-year-old man with a normal height and somewhat handsome. Wei Xiao Bei, who regained his normal life, made a joke as he moved towards the courtyard. However, a scolding sound came from behind him. Wei Xiao Bei. Were you eavesdropping on the wall yesterday night? Come back here, see how your sister will whip you to death. The man named Huang Dejun, on the other hand, awkwardly spoke. Lan Xing, lower your voice. The person, who was closest with Wei Xiao Bei, was this person, Li Lan Xing. Li Lan Xing was approximately 26 years old. She was a beautiful businesswoman with a cheerful disposition. She had treated the 24-year-old Wei Xiao Bei like a little brother. The other person was her boyfriend. His name was Huang Dejun, a 30-year-old white-collar worker with a meticulous disposition. To be more accurate, he was a bit narrow-minded, especially when it came to men who were close with Li Lanxing. He would always carry an indescribable hostility towards them. Wei Xiao Bei rushed out to the courtyard and looked at the Fat Mama store. He lightly sighed and bought 2 bottles of soy milk and a 10 yuan amount of pancake from a side stall. He started walking towards the bus station while eating and drinking. Yuan is Chinese money, 1 yuan equals 16 cents. The pancakes could be considered the mainstream breakfast in Chuehu City due to its affordability. Wei Xiao Bei felt weird inside. Normally, a bottle of milk and 2 yuan worth of pancakes would have been able to make him 90% full. He did not know why, but today when he saw the pancakes, he became incredibly hungry, so he bought 5 times the amount. Could it be because of all the electricity released? Was its consumption too big? Wei Xiao Bei cleanly finished the pancakes before he had even gotten off the bus. The smell of the pancake drifted all over the bus. Given that there were many people going to work now, Wei Xiao Bei was forced to bear the stares of many people. We have arrived at the How office building. The ticket seller's hoarse voice sounded. Wei Xiao Bei hurriedly got down and burped. He looked at the time in his mobile phone. It was now 8:10. He was relieved that he was not late, and in fact, there was still some time left. He slowly walked 2 steps and looked at a passing beauty wearing revealing clothes, before entering the office building's underground parking lot. The How office building. It was 38 floors high. It was a twin-tower-styled building from the 9th floor upwards. The name of the owner of the office building was Wan Dehao. He was the Dehao Group's chairman, and also one of the well-known richest people in Chuehu City. He owned more than 10 small and big companies such as the Dehao Greenery, Dehao Construction, Dehao Interior Design, and many others. It was rumored that he also dealt with underground dealings, so he was rather powerful in Chuehu City. Wei Xiao Bei's workplace was the Dao Real Estate. The main headquarters of the company was on the 37th floor. The CEO, Finance Department, Human Resource Department and other departments were settled there. On the other hand, Wei Xiao Bei entered an elevator close to the parking lot entrance. He then pushed the B5F button. This place was the engineering department of the company. The real estate company's electric work, water work, wood work and other works were concentrated in this place. This was also the place where all the plans were drafted and meals were taken. Although the ventilation fan kept sending the air upwards, the air still did not smell good. If it was the first time a person came and they had just eaten, they might have directly vomited out their food. Wei Xiao Bei had been working here for almost 3 months, so he was used to the smell. He even felt a sense of security whenever he smelled the engine oil mixed with rubber and sewer water in the air. The clock-in machine was located beside the elevator. After he clocked in and passed through the passage, he arrived at a wooden door labeled Lounge and walked inside. As the name implied, this place was the engineering department's lounge. This was the place where the department held their morning meetings and where the employees changed their clothes. There was a long table in the middle of the lounge with wooden chairs all around it. Going further inside, there was a wooden couch and a line of wardrobes across the wall. There was also a water dispenser and a long mirror in the corner of the room. There was also a ventilation fan hanging from the middle of the ceiling. This was what the entire lounge consisted of. Compared to the security department's lounge with a punching bag, treadmill, and dumbbells, or the sanitation department's beds and kitchen, or even the 37th floor headquarters coffee machine, cloisonné tea set, chessboard, etc., the engineering department's lounge seemed poverty-stricken. Even the long mirror and the water dispenser were second-hand goods passed down from the sanitation department. This situation was unavoidable. In electrician Li Yuancheng's words, the engineering department was a money-spending department. The security department could still take parking fees, the sanitation department could sell rejects and clean the above floors for money. Where should the engineering department earn their money from? The property owner's real estate fee? That was impossible because that money was the company's income. The money earned from extra services were also directly received by the finance department as the company's income. Whichever company it was, the engineering department would only spend money and did not earn that much money in return. Even if they earned money, the money would directly enter the finance department's account books. This way, the engineering department's status was understandably lower than others. Wei Xiao Bei changed his clothes while thinking of these things, smiling as he thought. "You're here, little Wei, aren't you early today?" A skinny, thick-eyebrowed 45-year-old man entered the lounge while carrying a tea cup. With a firm pace, he walked to the wardrobe and opened his section as he called out to Wei Xiao Bei. "You are also early, Brother Wang." Wei Xiao Bei replied while attaching the Dahao Real Estate's chest insignia. The middle-aged man was named Wang Wei Dong. He had entered the company at the same time as Wei Xiao Bei. He was an electrician that took advantage of his seniority to judge everything. During the human resources interview, Wang Wei Dong was an unceasing torrent to the point that the human resource director just blankly stared at him. Normally, a company like Dahao Real Estate would not hire Wang Wei Dong due to his age. However, Wang Wei Dong was an expert in water works, elevator maintenance, and managing the central air conditioning. Being an expert in many different fields while being an electrician was undoubtedly a huge plus. As a result, he was recruited at the same time with Wei Xiao Bei. Wei Xiao Bei was also recruited for his electrical work, but he only had the skill due to learning it in the army. The gap in skill between him and Wang Wei Dong, who had 20+ years of experience in estate maintenance, was too huge. If that human resource director was not an army retiree, Wei Xiao Bei might not even have passed the first round of interviews. Wei Xiao Bei took on a learning attitude and called Wang Wei Dong as Brother Wang, learning all the skills he could from him and at the same time, improving their relationship. They both sat on the wooden chairs and chatted for a while. The other employees also began to enter the room in succession. The once quiet lounge was now filled with noise. The employees of the engineering department were not that many. There were 16 people in total for all type of works, including the main engineer. Before everyone finished changing into their uniforms, a semi-bald 30-year-old man with a thermos entered the lounge. He frowned at the chaos in the lounge. "Everyone, get a move on. We will soon begin the meeting." This was the engineering department's main engineer, Engineer Zhang. The managerial position of the engineering department was currently empty. As a result, Engineer Zhang currently oversaw the overall administrations. Everyone trusted him due to his extensive skills in handling electric work, water works and the central air conditioning system. Wei Xiao Bei was fond of this system where your skills decided your position just like in the army. Unfortunately, his skill in electrical work was weak, so his position was not that high, making him slightly depressed. The morning meeting finished in 20 minutes. The night shift personnel reported the problems that they found and could not resolve. Then, Engineer Zhang assigned people their work. Most of the problems in the engineering department were trivial matters. For example, 2 light bulbs in passage 03 had burned out, or a leakage was found in B2F's toilet, or the monitor in the reception desk was malfunctioning, etc. After all, this twin tower building was only built 4 to 5 years ago, so it still would not have any big problems for a long while. These tasks did not really concern Wei Xiao Bei. After the meeting, he brewed a cup of tea and walked to the high-voltage electrical room. Wei Xiao Bei's main position in the engineering department was to go to the high-voltage electrical room. His main job was to oversee the electrical room and adjust the voltage values of the office building according to Engineer Zhang's instructions. Wei Xiao Bei pushed open the wooden door, crossed over the rodent control board, avoided the power cabinet, and arrived at a long table. A computer monitor and a small air conditioner was on top of the table. In front of the table was a young man in uniform. Rodent control board, http://www.geneoudyanli.com/upload/alimg/170517/1F510G551S3452.jpg never knew such a thing existed. The young man's face was white, while his cheeks were flushed red. A small pimple grew on his nose, destroying his image. Superstar, it's time to go home. Wei Xiao Bei greeted the young man and chuckled. The young man lazily stood up and looked at Wei Xiao Bei while stretching his body. I have once again earned another day's wages. Life is so hard. Good morning Xiao Bei. This young man was named Tian Shui Cun. His name was similar to a well-known superstar, so he was nicknamed Superstar. He was barely older than Xiao Bei by 1 year, but he loved acting older than him. Oh right. Did anything happen while I was sleeping for the night? Wei Xiao Bei asked. Nothing happened. I'm going to go change my clothes. Tian Shui Cun left the high-voltage electrical room as he spoke. The high-voltage electrical room had a 3-shift system. The day shift was from 8:30 a.m. in the morning until 6 p.m. in the afternoon. The night shift was from 6 p.m. in the afternoon until 8 a.m. in the morning. There was a total of 3 people in the rotation. The environment inside the high-voltage electric room was not very good. The rows of power cabinets emitted heat, causing the entire room temperature to be higher than the temperature above ground by 10 to 20 degrees. In short, a person could comfortably sleep here while wearing sleeveless clothes in winter, while the temperature in summer would reach 50 degrees. In Wei Xiao Bei's words, this place was not a place for humans. The only thing that brought cooling was the small air conditioner beside the monitor on the table. Wei Xiao Bei took the chance to check the night shift records while Tian Shui Cun was changing his clothes. Luckily, nothing was wrong. Wei Xiao Bei waited for Tian Shui Cun to finish changing and saying goodbye before he began making his rounds in the high-voltage electrical room. He took the day shift record book and began to copy the values of the power cabinets, converters, etc. After that, he sat down in front of the monitor and rubbed his stomach, feeling a bit hungry. Why am I hungry again? He grabbed the mop and went to the toilet. He washed it and brought it back to begin cleaning the room. After 1 round of cleaning, he looked at the spotless electrical room, feeling cheerful about it. Any good results born from human effort would make people happy. He looked outside to see if there was anyone around before closing the door. Then, he began hitting the sandbag behind the door. Wei Xiao Bei only had a few hobbies such as reading light novels, playing games and training his body, like hitting the sandbag. This sandbag was secretly brought in by Wei Xiao Bei. Other people would treat the work inside the electric room as a pleasant task. They just needed to sit down, stay idle, walk around the room and work without leaving their station. The night shift could even sleep during their hours. This would be a wonderful job for anyone, except for the unbearable heat. Wei Xiao Bei was different. He felt that working there was too dull, so he had no choice but to find a way to have fun. As a result, he decided to train his body, which was not even a bad choice. If he did not do this, his body would have already been a complete wreck. Exercising while releasing electricity could slowly stimulate the growth of his strength and agility, was it? Wei Xiao Bei remembered the description of his special skill. Let's try it and see if there are any results. Wei Xiao Bei's heart shook. His skin felt a bit numb as he felt the electricity moving throughout his body. Pa! 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 However, it did not take long for him to realize that maintaining electrical output while exercising was actually very draining. He weakly sat back down on the chair after about 100 punches. The feeling of the electricity going through his body remained as the muscles in his body trembled. This kind of feeling felt very unpleasant. Wei Xiao Bei was not yet adept in using the special skill. As a result, his body suffered a bit while using it when boxing. Groan. Half an hour had passed. I should go copy down the numbers again. Wei Xiao Bei endured the pain and tried to pick up the pen. Just as his hand approached the pen, a spark appeared between his hand and the pen. It was very small, but it was visible. His hand numbed a bit as he pulled it back. He had already stopped releasing electricity, so he was bewildered at what had just happened. Looking at his hand and then again at the pen, he thought for a bit before picking up the pen again. This time, a spark did not appear, so he guessed that it must have been the static electricity that accumulated in his body. Wei Xiao Bei recorded down the values in the monitor while his brain tried to make out an explanation. There was one thing he understood: the steel plate on the ground must have had a bit of static electricity and it had passed through his body. There was simply no way for his body to accumulate enough electricity to release a spark. He understood this point even though he had only been working as an electrician for 3 months. The high-voltage room's floor was made of steel plates that were elevated by half a meter. Doing this would not only make it easier to manage the cables, it would also protect the power cabinets and prevent the accumulation of static electricity. Static electricity was the bane of electrical rooms. If the place did not use steel plates, he might have fainted from the discharged accumulated static electricity in his body the moment he left the place. This was not even a joking matter, since this had actually happened in other places that did not use these steel plates. After using these steel plates, the amount of these incidents happening had become close to none. The thicker the steel plate, the quicker it would direct away the accumulated static electricity in the body. Wei Xiao Bei walked as he once again recorded the numbers in the rows of power cabinets again. The power cabinet was covered in thick rubber pieces. This was a safety measure used in order to prevent the electrician from being electrocuted. Wei Xiao Bei took one step and suddenly sensed something wrong with his body as a numbing pain began assaulting his body. An electrician would be very familiar with this phenomenon. This was the feeling of having an electric current pass through the body. It seems that spark that happened when I touched the pen was not an illusion. My control over this special skill must still be quite bad. He looked at his hand that was glowing with electric light as he touched the metal covering of the power cabinet. Wei Xiao Bei's mind was in disarray as he tried to think of a way to train his control over the electric current. When he walked to the front of the 2-meter-tall voltage converters, he suddenly felt the hidden fearsome energy hidden inside the transformers. He felt an indescribable reverence towards the huge electrical energy stored within it. Wei Xiao Bei always felt that time passed by quickly in his day shift. He would just record the data in the monitors and follow Engineer Zhang's instructions to turn on or off some of the electrical circuit switches. He often passed the time with satisfaction, making him feel the shortness of time. The only problem he felt was that during noontime, his stomach became extremely hungry. Originally, a 3.5 yuan box meal was already enough to fill his stomach. Now, he had to buy 5 boxes before he was full. Damn! Wei Xiao Bei became slightly anxious at the amount he was eating. He had eaten through 17.5 yuan for lunch. If this continued on, wouldn't his 3 meals cost him 45 yuan? Wei Xiao Bei had just finished his probationary work period and became a full-time employee. But, the monthly wage was only 1,200 yuan. Although this amount was not small in his hometown, in Chuihu City, 1,200 yuan would eventually become 200 yuan due to rent, food expense and other expenses. The previous numbers showed just how hard-pressed for money Wei Xiao Bei was. 45 yuan for food expenses per day would increase his expenses by 1,350 yuan per month. My God! I don't even have to mention the rent and other fees, my salary would not even be enough to pay for my meals. After calculating, Wei Xiao Bei realized that he had to find another way to earn money, or else he would be thrown out of his apartment by the landlord. It was now 6 o'clock and time to change shifts. Wei Xiao Bei threw the strange condition of his body to the back of his mind. He greeted the colleague who was going to take over and rode the elevator up, leaving the How office building. Wei Xiao Bei was near his apartment when his stomach let out a long grumble. He rubbed his stomach, feeling hungry again. It would be problematic if this continued on. He took a detour for the nearby noodle stand and ate 5 bowls of noodles. Thinking about the dead Guangming Jun, Wei Xiao Bei walked towards the Dexing parking lot. The Dexing parking lot was not very hard to find, so he went straight inside. After asking around Guangming Jun's workmates, he learned that he had skipped work. This removed all of Wei Xiao Bei's doubts and confirmed his suspicions. The Guangming Jun in the dust world was the same as the Guangming Jun in this world. If a person died, they wouldn't be able to return. Therefore, him skipping work would not have been a strange phenomenon. Wei Xiao Bei's confirmation weighed heavily in his mind. Previously, his subconscious still considered his experience in the dust world as a dream, an extremely realistic dream. But now that he confirmed Guangming Jun's death in the dust world meant his death in the real world, he couldn't help but become extremely anxious for his own future, distracting him from what he was doing. Crash. Wei Xiao Bei at the time was a little muddle-headed, so when he passed by a food stall, he accidentally knocked down a table. The table was already unsteady, so in just one hit, the table and all the food and beer on it fell to the ground. He instinctively wanted to apologize since he already knew he was in the wrong. After all, he still had enough morals to admit his own mistakes. However, the diner, whose food was now on the floor, was furious. Slap. Fuck you. The diner's palm landed on Wei Xiao Bei's face, knocking him down. The sting on his face, although painful, woke him up from his daze. Wei Xiao Bei felt an acute pain in his head as warm liquid dripped down his forehead. Realizing that his head was injured, and he was bleeding, he looked up and saw 3 hooligans surrounding him. They were youths who had their sleeves rolled up, with colored hair, appearing like birds' nests. The one who had slapped Wei Xiao Bei had triangular eyes, but his eyes were crazed and bloodshot, indicating that he was probably a drug addict. The green-haired boy on the left was holding a shattered beer bottle. The red hair on the right also grabbed a beer bottle and plunging it towards Wei Xiao Bei's head. Facing the hooligans' attack, Wei Xiao Bei could only defend himself using his hands to block the attack. Pow! Bang! Wei Xiao Bei was able to block the beer bottle, but was kicked in the stomach by triangle eyes. He lost his balance from the kick and fell down backwards. Crackle, ping, break. There was a loud noise. Wei Xiao Bei fell down on the table behind him, sending food and beer everywhere, causing the eating customer to run away in escape. A normal person would never involve themselves in these kinds of fights. Their normal choice would be to run away. Fuck. Wei Xiao Bei became angry as pain spread in his body. However, the pain in his head and arms had already affected his fighting strength. He knew that he simply could not win against 3 people in his current situation. The hooligans' bodies and skills were not bad. With the ability between them being fairly even, Wei Xiao Bei's relatively slow reaction time to their ambush was quite normal. Chuihu City's economy was flourishing, but as a result its society had become complex. People in the dark side were only few, they did not have a care for anyone else. If provoked, the best consequence was being sent to the hospital, the worst was being left dead in the middle of the street. Wei Xiao Bei, under this intense situation, could not afford to think about trivial matters. He needed to increase his strength to deal with these hooligans. He could not directly put his evolution points in his strength attribute, so he chose to increase his muscle attribute. Concentrating on the muscle attribute, the evolution points in his status panel quickly decreased while his muscle attribute began to increase from 11 points. 11.01, 11.02, 11.03. 100 evolution points had been used up without even using half a second. Wei Xiao Bei's muscle attribute quickly increased from 11 to 12 points. If anybody was staring at Wei Xiao Bei, they would have noticed that his muscles were quickly expanding. Although it was not by much, it was still visible to the naked eye. His muscle attribute was not the only thing that changed, the pain in his body had also gradually lessened. Although it took a long time to describe this, only a few seconds had passed. What are you looking at? Stupid brat. Bring out 30,000 yuan, or else, he. Triangle Eyes thought that Wei Xiao Bei had already given up, so he begun extorting him. At the same time, red hair on the right smashed the base of the bottle, and green hair on the left held an attack pose to place pressure on Wei Xiao Bei. They had already done this many times. Normally, even if they were not provoked they would still stir up trouble, let alone with Wei Xiao Bei himself, knocking down the table. Taking advantage of people by extorting them was their way of benevolence. Beating up Wei Xiao Bei was only a way of scaring him. Okay, I will give you all my money. Wei Xiao Bei said so that the hooligans would let down their guard. Triangle Eye approached first to take the wallet as Wei Xiao Bei took it out. Without a single word, Wei Xiao Bei's fist punched Triangle Eyes on the face. The face was one of the most sensitive yet important parts of the body. A punch to the face would not go as far as killing a person, but it was definitely enough to inhibit a person's strength for a short period. Wei Xiao Bei naturally understood this from his army training. The increase in his muscle attribute had greatly increased Wei Xiao Bei's strength. The punch had actually caused Triangle Eyes to crouch down and cover his bleeding nose. However, Wei Xiao Bei immediately followed up with a right hook to the chin. After being sent backwards, Triangle Eyes fell down to the ground. His body spasmed as blood flowed from his nose, creating a frightening scene. Perhaps because these hooligans were too used to being tyrants, the remaining lackeys just stared blankly after meeting resistance for the first time in a while. However, the two hooligans were not inexperienced in fighting. Wei Xiao Bei once again sent a punch towards Green Hair, striking him down. During that moment, Red Hair moved to thrust the broken beer bottle towards Wei Xiao Bei's underarm. If the sharp edge of the broken beer bottle pierced through his underarm, it probably would not have taken long before he would bleed to death. I'm going all out. When this thought appeared in Wei Xiao Bei's mind, he felt an electric current surge up from within his body. His muscles' power and his body's flexibility increased, and frantically, he twisted his body, barely dodging the broken bottle. Pow! Counterattack! Wei Xiao Bei's left fist hit the Red Hair's ear. Red Hair only felt a wave of dizziness before weakly falling down. He let go of the broken bottle, breaking it to pieces as it landed on the ground. 12 points in muscle, adding on the 10 points in sturdiness, then dividing it by 2, gave the result of 11 points in strength. Using his 11-point strength to attack these hooligans' vitals was enough to thoroughly eliminate their fighting strength. Wei Xiao Bei was publicly recognized as a good-natured person, but after entering and returning from the dust world, the succession of changes in his body had stifled his psyche. The three hooligans' arrogance had turned the built-up feeling deep inside Wei Xiao Bei's heart into rage. The anger in his heart had dispersed a bit after knocking down the hooligans, but it was not enough. Didn't people from ancient times have a word for this? The victor should chase the cornered enemy, do not be like the warlord. These hooligans were the enemy. If they did not receive enough pain, they might find trouble with him in the future. Even if Wei Xiao Bei reported this to the police, it would be impossible for the local police station to protect him 24/7. Wei Xiao Bei grabbed Triangle Eye's arm and smashed it on the floor. With a loud crack, the hooligan's bone broke. Wei Xiao Bei followed the set pattern and did the same thing to the other hooligans. A bone fracture would probably need them at least 100 days to recuperate. Wei Xiao Bei was confident that if these three hooligans came to find him after 100 days, he would not need to be worried about anything. Before leaving, he also did not forget to search through their wallets. Although the three of them looked sloppy, the money in their wallets was not a small amount. Wei Xiao Bei left 500 yuan to the owner of the food stall for the damages and took more than 3,000 yuan left over. At the very least, I now have food for 2 months. Wei Xiao Bei was feeling hungry again after beating the three hooligans. He was so hungry that he felt as if his stomach acid rose all the way to his mouth, crippling his entire body. Worried that the police might find him, he went into a restaurant and spent 50 yuan to reward himself. After returning to the apartments, the corridor was completely empty, probably because it was already late at night. The droning sound of television could even be heard from the rooms. Wei Xiao Bei weakly sat on his bedside. He stared at the ceiling for what seemed like a long time, remembering the earlier fight. Naturally, Wei Xiao Bei was slightly remorseful because of the fight. After all, he was not an obedient child who only knew how to study, and fighting was a normal occurrence in the army. His strength did go up a bit after putting in his evolution points, but what was most crucial was the electric current that passed through his body, stimulating his muscles. This was the power that caused his muscles to grow in an instant. If the electric current had not stimulated his muscles, he would have been toast after those 3 hooligans were done with him. A female voice from outside the door increased Wei Xiao Bei's attention. It was the voice of Li Lan Xing and Zhou Li Jun. "Little Zhou, your complexion looks bad. Are you sick?" "Ah, Sister Lan, nothing is wrong. It's probably just because I've been staying up too late." Zhou Li Jun's voice was slightly bashful. He was, after all, a shut-in, so seeing a beautiful older sister would unavoidably startle him. Wei Xiao Bei listened to Li Lan Xing's voice. His heart grew warm, so he opened the door and laughed loudly. "Sister Lan, aren't you early today? Where's Brother Huang?" Wei Xiao Bei nodded his head at Zhou Li Jun as a greeting. Li Lan Xing's face became gloomy as she frowned. "He's working overtime again today." "Sister Lan, since Brother Huang is not here, don't forget to call me if you get lonely." Wei Xiao Bei chuckled and closed the door, causing Li Lan Xing to scold him. "You little brat, how dare you tease your sister Lan? Stand still. Watch me sew your mouth shut." At this time, Zhou Li Jun's face was already bashfully red. He quickly hid back into his room. Although shut-ins were well-versed in porn, they were incredibly shy when faced with reality. Wei Xiao Bei looked at the darkened sky while leaning on his bed, making the status window appear. Name, Wei Xiao Bei. Race, human. Gender, male. Age, 21. Creature rank, 1 star. Status, the average adult male's status value is 10. Strength, 11, muscle, 12, sturdiness, 10. Agility, 9.75, hand-eye coordination, 9, flexibility, 11, reflex, 11, balance, 8. Vitality, 10, health, 9, endurance, 11. Intelligence, 7, learning, 6, reasoning, 8. Awareness, 9.25, willpower, 12, judgment, 8, perception, 7, intuition, 10. Charm, 7.2, courage, 10, persuasiveness, 7, character, 7, leadership, 5, appearance, 7. Skills, shooting, intermediate, military boxing, intermediate, electrical work, beginner. Special skill, release electricity, maximum strength 7 volts. Maximum current 1.5 mA. This skill was formed after Wei Xiao Bei ate the Thunder Worm electric ball. Maintaining a constant output for a long period could allow this skill to level up. Using this while exercising would stimulate strength and slowly increase agility. Evolution point, 0. Items on hand, none. He looked at his status and noticed that other than the 1-point increase in muscle and the 0.5 increase in strength, his special skill had also improved. The maximum voltage that he could now produce increased by 2 and the electric current increased by 0.5 mA. Although it was not much, he couldn't help but feel happy about it. The increased amount was small, but looking at the proportionality, it had probably increased by 55%. The progress of his release electricity special skill was probably from his fight with the hooligans. But although he had benefited from using the electricity, it had also left him in extreme hunger. Wei Xiao Bei felt that good things will always come with bad things. The good thing was upgrading his special skill, and the bad thing was that his wallet will empty faster. Previously, one meal had cost Wei Xiao Bei 50 yuan. However, if he wanted to quickly level up his special skill, his savings would not even be enough. Even if he raked in 300 yuan from those hooligans, he would only have 7,000 yuan. Only 7,000 yuan. Wei Xiao Bei bitterly smiled. Based on the current day's spendings, 7,000 yuan would probably only last for a month, and then he still had to pay rent and other expenses. He leaned on the headboard, spending a long time trying to calculate, but failed to find a way to earn more money. Wei Xiao Bei was only an ordinary person. He did not have a special background nor method. It would be very difficult for him to find a quick way to earn money. Moreover, if he was indeed capable of finding an easy way of earning money, he wouldn't have come to Chuihu City for work. It probably wouldn't be bad for him if he could meet a few hooligans every day, but this was clearly impossible. Wei Xiao Bei rubbed his head and lied down on the bed. The only thing he could do now was move one step at a time. Another day passed and it was time to get off work. At this time, Wei Xiao Bei noticed that the Xing Xing supermarket next to the Dehao office building was having a food sale. The price of the expired food was less than a third of the original price. Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but feel extreme happiness. He madly swept through the supermarket and bought 800 yuan worth of food. He carried 8 bags full of food and walked towards the public transport station. After strenuously squeezing inside the public bus, Wei Xiao Bei was finally able to breathe. It was currently the time for most people to get off work, so even after the bus stopped at another station, more people got on and squeezed inside. Wei Xiao Bei had already retreated to a corner, as he tightly guarded his 8 bags of food. Everyone getting on the bus quickly squeeze in the back. Hurry up! The driver's loud voice sounded. For contracted public buses, the drivers were the boss. They always wanted to cram the bus full of passengers from front to back and up to down. The inside of the bus was already like a can of sardines. Wait! A crisp and sweet female voice echoed from outside the bus. The bus that had already begun to move suddenly stopped, causing the passengers inside to stagger forward and curse. The bus doors opened again. Damn, how could another person get on the bus? It's already tighter than a duck's arse in here. Wei Xiao Bei secretly cursed, but his eyes suddenly widened as he saw a young woman wearing a long white skirt trying to squeeze inside. Although she was not as graceful as a goose, she was extremely beautiful. She had a slim body, a delicate neckline, and a fragrant smell. Excuse me, can you move a bit? The woman's cheeks were red as she faintly breathed, making her face look like a peach blossom. As she spoke, a fragrant smell assaulted Wei Xiao Bei. His nose twitched a bit. He was a soldier for 3 years already, so even a female pig looked better than a cicada, and saying this was not even a joke. When Wei Xiao Bei was in the army, everything close by, even the housefly in midair, was male. Although he had already retired for more than half a year, he had never touched a woman until now, especially one this beautiful. So fragrant. The young woman's attire was not revealing, but her snow-white neck, and her faintly visible delicate collarbone arose a certain impulse from Wei Xiao Bei's body, as he couldn't help but bend downward. He tried to prevent people from seeing his swollen little brother, before he became a laughing stock. Seeing that Wei Xiao Bei did not speak, the woman looked at Wei Xiao Bei and then looked at the bags into the corner that Wei Xiao Bei occupied. Her face was slightly disappointed. She had no choice but to stay there. Her entire body was full of unease from the feeling she had about the men's gazes, as if they wanted to gobble her up. Even as she got on the bus, a few shameless men had already become erect, leaving her embarrassed. "Ah, I'm sorry." Wei Xiao Bei finally responded and hastily squeezed to the side. He shifted the position of the large bags to make space for her. "Thank you." The woman relaxed and took the space left. There were quite a lot of perverts in the bus. Seeing that the woman was squeezed into a corner, a rather educated-looking middle-aged man also squeezed over, his eyes filled with desire and greed. Although this matter did not concern Wei Xiao Bei, as an upright man, his desire to protect young women would be aroused, especially for one this beautiful. Wei Xiao Bei's right arm quickly landing on the handrail near the woman, blocking the approaching middle-aged man from squeezing in. He also changed his gaze to become slightly ferocious. The middle-aged man's mood dropped considerably due to Wei Xiao Bei's obstruction. However, when he saw the muscles bulging out of Wei Xiao Bei's t-shirt and his ferocious glare, he subconsciously retreated. He even accidentally stepped on the person behind him, causing them to throw curses at him. The middle-aged man apologized, and peace returned to the bus. Wei Xiao Bei also averted his gaze from the woman's body. But because he was so close, her fragrance kept on drilling through his nose. His body began to become extremely restless, so he had no other choice but to focus his attention elsewhere. If he did not do so, he would most likely make a fool of himself soon enough. This was the first time he had been this close to a woman, so he was experiencing a little hardship. Finally, the bus stopped. Wei Xiao Bei carried the food he bought and hurriedly squeezed out of the bus. The young woman also followed him down the bus, which had slightly surprised him. Naturally, Wei Xiao Bei had not misunderstood about whether or not she had fallen for him, instead, he simply thought that she must have lived around there. They were only strangers going together by chance. Wei Xiao Bei did not even look at the other person anymore and just walked towards his apartment. After entering the courtyard, he discovered that the woman was still following behind him. Seeing Wei Xiao Bei turn around, the young woman blushed. She knew that Wei Xiao Bei must have been skeptical of her. "I live here." The young woman summoned up her courage and spoke. After all, she did not want others to see her as a shameless woman. "Oh. I also live here. Why have I never seen you before?" Wei Xiao Bei wanted to slap himself for speaking without thinking. He was really bad at speaking, it was no wonder his persuasiveness was only 7 points. His tone would have probably been seen as if he was questioning her honesty. "I just moved here yesterday." The woman spoke in a low voice. From the looks of it, she was quite a bashful person. With only a few words said, her head was already hung low. "Okay. Let's go in. If we stand here too long, people might think that something is wrong." Wei Xiao Bei shook his head and took the initiative to go in. The young woman truly lived here. The entire apartment had 10 rooms. Wei Xiao Bei lived at the end of the hall, while the young woman lived directly across his room. Wei Xiao Bei opened his door and stopped when he heard the young woman push open her door. He saw her skittishly walk in and close the door, almost as if there was a wolf chasing her. Wei Xiao Bei bitterly laughed and closed the door. From his point of view, the young woman's interaction with him was only for show. He knew that he could never obtain a beautiful girl like her. He couldn't even properly support himself. Wei Xiao Bei shook off the young woman imprinted in his mind and begun to prepare dinner. From morning till evening, Wei Xiao Bei had been maintaining a constant release of electricity for around 10 hours now. At noon, he had eaten boxed lunches, 6 boxes of them. And now, he was hungry again. In order to economize, Wei Xiao Bei's dinner right now was the food he had just bought on sale. He placed 5 hardtack pieces in a pot, added water, and boiled it over a stove. After reaching a certain temperature, the hardtack had become a fragrant paste. The smell was pretty good, but it did not look that great. Wei Xiao Bei knitted his eyebrows and held the pot, gulping down the food. This was the first time Wei Xiao Bei had eaten this full, that his stomach even slightly retched, almost causing him to vomit. He drank a cup of hot water to make the thick liquid paste go down smoother, then laid down on his bed. He had to let his body rest while his brain kept thinking. A few days had passed since he left the dust world, and since then, he had never returned to the strange world even once. Wei Xiao Bei boldly guessed that the reason he was able to enter the dust world was because he was drunk. Although his reasoning was 8 points just like most people, making such a conclusion did not really require a person to be on a Sherlock Holmes level. After making his deduction about entering the dust world, Wei Xiao Bei felt a little hesitant. He knew, from his previous experience, that the dust world was not a peaceful world. Normal people would never think of entering that world again if they had a choice. However, the more Wei Xiao Bei thought about his continuous decreasing amount of money, an indescribable sense of urgency appeared in his mind. Naturally, if this was the only reason, Wei Xiao Bei would only need to stop releasing electricity. This would simply decrease his expenses to the point where he could return to barely living with his monthly wage of 1,200 yuan. However, he was never one to be resigned to this kind of fate. Since he had encountered such a mysterious situation, he might as well try to change his future. He knew he would not be able to forgive himself if he just gave it up like this. Wei Xiao Bei came back to his senses after contemplating his situation for a long time. He sensed that his right hand was now holding onto something. It was a bottle of Jiangjin liquor, the cheapest kind. It was 250 grams that cost 6.8 yuan per bottle with an alcohol content of 38%. 250 grams is approximate 250 milliliters. This was a part of the groceries he had bought today, but there it had not even been discounted. He did not even know why he had bought it. Wei Xiao Bei lightly sighed. It seemed like his subconscious mind was suggesting an idea that he just could not give up on. He twisted the bottle cap and began chugging down the liquor. Wei Xiao Bei's alcohol tolerance was not that high. In just a few gulps, he had finished drinking the whole bottle and his stomach immediately started burning. 2 minutes had not even passed when the wine bottle crashed to the floor, signaling that Wei Xiao Bei had fallen asleep on his bed. "My head hurts." Wei Xiao Bei did not know how long he had slept for. As soon as he woke up, his head had already begun to ache. However, his muddle-headed brain immediately sobered when he saw the ruined ceiling. He immediately sat up and inspected his surroundings. I really returned to the dust world. The light entering the window was dusky. The floor and the table were covered in dust. Zhang Jingying's poster had yellowed. Countless spider webs were hanging on the walls. The orange and apple had already rotted and covered in mold, while the fruit below had become like dirty mud. The aluminium window frame was still covered in white ash, while the glass was covered with dust and cracks. The computer screen was covered in webs. The water glass did not have any water in it and instead there was a corpse of a dried-up worm inside. The air was filled with thick dust that could make people choke. Everything was the same as when he had left the place. Nothing had changed. Since this was the second time he saw his surroundings, Wei Xiao Bei did not panic as much anymore. It could even be said that he was completely calm. He touched the dagger on his waist with his right hand and opened the door. At that moment, Wei Xiao Bei looked at the tightly closed door across from his apartment. Her beautiful face floated inside his mind as a strange idea surfaced. Should I go in and take a look? He hesitated for a bit, but then made his decision, kicking down the door in front of him. Bang! The lock on the worn-out door was completely unable to block Wei Xiao Bei's 11-point strength. The door opened instantly. However, because the door suddenly opened, as a result, air quickly moved into the room, causing the dust inside to soar up. It was like a tiny sandstorm surging in the room. Crap! Wei Xiao Bei secretly cursed and dodged to the side. It did not take long for the dust to settle down again. Wei Xiao Bei was now faced with a strange phenomenon. This was because the inside of the room did not seem to have any traces of a human having lived there. He was disappointed that the secret objects that he had hoped for did not exist. However, he quickly rid himself of this feeling when a strange sound could be heard from the street outside. Kaluluji. Kaluluji. Jiba. Jiba. It was very clear that this sound was coming from an unknown creature. Picking up an almost destroyed chair, Wei Xiao Bei silently approached the courtyard gate. Reaching the wall, he placed the chair down and stepped on it. He planted his hands on the top of the wall and carefully peeked outside. What is that? Wei Xiao Bei could never have imagined the creatures that he saw. It was a group of children, all around the height of a 10-year-old, wielding clubs. They were moving through the street and stopped from time to knock on the courtyard gates of the neighborhood. They were also the origin of the strange sound from earlier. Why are there children here? Could it be that they are like me who came here from the real world? Wei Xiao Bei did not dare get careless because the sounds they were making were just far too strange, giving him a sense unease. The children continued to move forward and slowly approaching nearer to him. Wei Xiao Bei almost let out a surprised voice when he finally saw what the humanoid creatures actually looked like. They appeared to be 10-year-old children, but looking closely they were actually a group of monsters. They had the head of fish and the body of men. Their feet were webbed while their hands were human. Their waists were covered in fish scales and their bodies were covered with a strange layer of white membrane. Their appearance looked like the monsters from television shows. At first look, their appearance looked rather terrifying and even Wei Xiao Bei's heartbeat sped up. Bang! Bang! A fish head raised its club and knocked another neighboring courtyard gate. This time, there was movement from behind the courtyard gate. Who is it? A sleepy and irritated male voice sounded. The fish heads stopped making any more sounds after they heard the voice from within the courtyard and quickly began surrounding the place while holding their clubs up high. Wei Xiao Bei, after seeing this scene, hardened his heart. These fish heads were not peaceful creatures, their actions seemed to say that they were the hunters and the owner of the voice behind the courtyard was their target. Should I warn him? The fish heads were only 4 feet tall, and their muscles were not developed. Even Wei Xiao Bei could probably deal with 3 of them at a time. However, there were 12 of them, and each had a weapon at hand. If he revealed himself, then the damaged courtyard gate might not even be able to block their advance. After considering things, Wei Xiao Bei jumped down from the chair and picked up a rock. When he was about to get back up, he heard the sound of the neighboring courtyard gate open. Creak! Creak! The sound of the door opening could clearly be heard thanks to the quiet streets. What are you doing, ah? The man who opened the gate suddenly let out a scream, which was sometimes accompanied by the sound of clubs hitting his body. Too late. Wei Xiao Bei's heart became heavy. He didn't even care about the creaking sound from the chair and jumped on it, looking over the wall. At this time, the neighboring courtyard gate was widely opened. The group of fish heads continuously waved their clubs, beating the body on the floor. Wei Xiao Bei had never seen the man before, but he knew that he was a tenant for the neighboring apartment. Without a doubt, this tenant entered the dust world because he was drunk or for some other reason. The tenant was the complete opposite of Wei Xiao Bei. Wei Xiao Bei had been cautious the first time he entered this place, while the tenant did not have any sense of danger at all. In the end, he opened the gate and got beaten up by the fish heads. Their clubs did not even exceed half a meter, but because its head was round, the damage it could cause the body was not small. Under the continuous pounding from 12 clubs, in only a few minutes, the man stopped moving, and red blood flowed from his head. Wei Xiao Bei knew that the man could not be helped anymore. If he rashly went out, he might also be a goner. The fish heads did not stop at all as they continued on pounding at the man's head. They only stopped when they heard the sound of the man's skull shattering. The tallest of the fish heads, who seemed like their leader, bent down and extended its finger. It dipped its finger in the man's head and tasted it. Sala Sala. The fish head leader nodded its head in satisfaction. It cried out and commanded 6 of the fish heads to carry the man's corpse, while it led the group out. There were even 2 bodyguards behind it as they headed to the other side of the street. After the group of fish heads left, only 3 fish heads were left behind. From the looks of it, they seemed to be unsatisfied that their leader had left them behind. They stood there for a while before entering the apartment. Soon, the sound of wood echoed from inside, as if they were trying to find something. "There's only 3 fish heads left." Wei Xiao Bei felt a bit guilty that he was unable to save the stranger, but his confidence rose when he saw that only 3 had stayed behind. He checked to the end of the street to make sure that there were no indications of the other fish heads, who were carrying the corpse. Wei Xiao Bei returned inside his apartment and picked up 2 beer bottles. He then placed a bit of mud in his pocket before opening the courtyard gate. Moving as quietly as possible, he hid as he moved closer to the other courtyard gate. Wei Xiao Bei took a quick peek inside the courtyard before entering for precaution. There was only 1 fish head left in the courtyard. It was currently using its club to destroy a rusted bicycle. The other 2 fish heads had disappeared, but they must have gone inside as the apartment door was open. The fish head's back was currently facing him, so when the fish head wedged the club into the bicycle, Wei Xiao Bei charged in without any hesitation. He fiercely smashed the beer bottle on the back of the enemy's head. Smash! The beer bottle had been completely destroyed in this attack due to his 11-point strength. A sharp noise spread throughout the courtyard. The fish head, having been hit on the back of his head, was stunned and was about to turn around. It didn't get knocked out. Smash! Wei Xiao Bei used the beer bottle in his other hand to smash at it again, breaking the bottle in the process. This time, the fish head finally fell down. The sound of running came from the apartment, signaling that its friends had heard the loud noise. Although they did not seem to be coming very fast, Wei Xiao Bei did not dare let his guard down. He picked up the fish head's club and charged to the apartment door, preparing to ambush them from the side. One of the fish heads charged out just as Wei Xiao Bei got in position. It did not even notice Wei Xiao Bei as it moved towards its knocked-out comrade. Wei Xiao Bei tightened his grip on the club when he saw the fish head appear, but held back his impulse to attack. He did not know if this was the correct decision, because if the second fish head was too slow, he would then be facing them 2-1. His luck was not bad. After the first fish head reached the defeated fish head, the second fish head quickly came out from the apartment building. Now's the time. Wei Xiao Bei fiercely struck down onto the fish head's back, and with just one hit, the fish head went limp and fell down. He could not yet let himself feel relieved and fiercely pounded on it again. What happened after surprised him. The round and moist fish head had been hit so hard it had actually caved in and cracked. A white and red mixture came out from the crack, and even splashed on his face. This must be brain juice. There's no mistake about it. When he used the club to smash the fish head's skull, a warm feeling appeared in his mind, as if adding something to the experience. However, Wei Xiao Bei did not have the time to care about this at the moment. He touched his face and saw the other fish head looking at him with hesitation, frightened. It immediately turned around and ran away from the courtyard. Not good. The last fish head is running away. Wei Xiao Bei immediately understood the consequences of letting this fish head run away. Once the fish head escaped, it would without a doubt bring more fish heads. He also realized after facing them, that he could only face 2 fish heads at a time. Moreover, he also needed to discharge electricity to beat them. Who? Wei Xiao Bei made the electrical current surge in his body. His strength and agility sharply rose. He caught up with the fish head and swung the club towards the fish head. The fish head, though, was not an idiot. It immediately dodged when it saw the club flying towards it, but it lost all its momentum to run, losing its last chance to escape. After swinging the club, Wei Xiao Bei took a big stride and pulled out the knife in his waist. He took advantage of the fish head's evasion and struck the back of the fish head with all his strength. The incredibly sharp knife cut like tofu, leaving a huge cut on the fish head's back. Its body was not that tough, so the knife easily damaged its backbone and even caused some internal organs to be damaged. As a result, Wei Xiao Bei only needed to stab the fish head once before it fell to the ground with its limbs still jerking. Wei Xiao Bei finally relaxed after this. He had obtained an increase in strength and agility after releasing electricity, but the strength of the electricity this time had been much stronger than the time he beat up those hooligans. The muscles in his body began spasming as soon as he relaxed. He lost all control of his body, the knife first falling to the ground with his body following after. His muscles kept jerking for about 20 seconds, so he just took this chance to lie down on the ground and rest for another 10 minutes. After regaining enough energy, he stood up once more. The best thing that Wei Xiao Bei should have done in his current situation, was to rest for at least half an hour, but he knew that he did not have that much time to rest. He picked up the knife again and looked at the fish head with a bit of hesitation, but soon, the image of the man being dragged away by the fish heads floated up in his mind. He gritted his teeth, crouched down, and thrust the dagger down the fish head's brain. With a strong thrust, he completely destroyed its brain, immediately stopping the fish head from spasming. After doing it once, Wei Xiao Bei did not hesitate anymore. He walked towards the fish head that fainted in front of the bicycle, and thrust the dagger in its brain, killing it while it was still unconscious. Next, Wei Xiao Bei gathered the 3 fish heads and cut open their bodies. He felt slightly disappointed that nothing special appeared in their bodies. But what he did discover was that the internal organs of the fish heads were different from a human's. The fish heads had a pair of gills below their rib cage. They did not have any lungs or noses, and their muscles were blue. When thinking about it, he realized that this was not wrong. The fish heads indeed had a fish head, so having gills was not strange occurrence. The only value in these fish heads' corpses was to become food. However, Wei Xiao Bei did not have any desire to turn them into food. He tossed the corpses of the 3 fish heads inside the apartment, closed the gates, and returned to his own apartment. He first found something to block the courtyard gates, before eating the hardtacks and mineral water he had found before from the small store. Wei Xiao Bei would quickly become hungry every time he suddenly uses his special skill to its full potential. The feeling of hunger was extremely unpleasant. If he did not have the hardtack at hand, he probably would have fainted from hunger or eat anything that he could get a hold of. This was one of the reasons why he quickly left the neighboring courtyard. He did not want to suddenly wake up from eating something similar to a human arm due to his extreme hunger. Wei Xiao Bei had exhausted a lot of energy while killing the 3 fish heads, causing him to consume more than half of the reserves he had in the apartment. However, the food shortage did not matter much to him. After eating his fill, he lied down on the bed while rubbing his aching stomach and decided to take a look at the status panel in his mind. Name, Wei Xiao Bei. Race, human. Gender, male. Age, 21. Creature rank, 1 star. Status, the average adult male's status value is 10. Strength, 11, muscle, 12, sturdiness, 10. Agility, 9.75, hand-eye coordination, 9, flexibility, 11, reflex, 11, balance, 8. Vitality, 10, health, 9, endurance, 11. Intelligence, 7, learning, 6, reasoning, 8. Awareness, 9.25, willpower, 12, judgment, 8, perception, 7, intuition, 10. Charm, 7.2, courage, 10, persuasiveness, 7, character, 7, leadership, 5, appearance, 7. Skills, shooting, intermediate, military boxing, intermediate, electrical work, beginner. Special skill, release electricity, maximum strength 8.5 volts. Maximum current 1.8 mA. This skill was formed after Wei Xiao Bei ate the Thunderworm electric ball. Maintaining a constant output for a long period could allow this skill to level up. Using this while exercising would stimulate strength and slowly increase agility. Evolution point, 30. Item on hand, none. Compared to before, there were a few changes in the status panel. His special skill, Release Electricity, could now release 8.5 volts of electricity and its electric current rose to 1.8 milliamperes. The voltage increased by 1.5 and the electric current increased by 0.3. This increase was lower compared to the previous increase. However, he now understood that suddenly using this special skill could quickly increase the voltage and electric current. The only problem was that he needed large amounts of food. The more he thought about his emptying wallet, the more ugly his face turned. The other change to the status panel was the 30 evolution points he had obtained from killing the 3 fish heads. It could be deducted that he needed to kill 10 fish heads to be able to obtain the equivalent evolution point to 1 thunderworm. However, the thunderworm was unquestionably stronger. Wei Xiao Bei himself knew that if he did not have a weapon for killing the slug and fought for his life, he would have been turned to ashes even if there were 10 of him. For the same reason, 10 fish heads could not even compare to 1 thunderworm. After thinking about this, Wei Xiao Bei was very satisfied that he could obtain 10 points from killing 1. After thinking about his attributes and understanding them more, he realized that the dust world was unquestionably filled with many dangers. The most useful attributes in this world would be those that could increase a person's survival rate. These attributes should be strength, agility, and vitality. These 3 attributes were necessary in fighting. Strength determined the ability to injure and kill the enemy. Agility determined the speed of a person's attacks and their ability to dodge the enemy attacks. Vitality determined the length of time a person could keep fighting. Wei Xiao Bei was at least able to understand this concept. Where should I place these 30 evolution points? Wei Xiao Bei was hesitant. From his previous experience, he understood that 1 evolution point could increase a sub-attribute by 0.01 points. Then, 30 evolution points could give 0.3 sub-attribute points. For now, Wei Xiao Bei did not place them in his skills. He thought about it for a bit but suppressed his urge to use the evolution points. Kalaluji, Kalaluji. A familiar sound came from the streets. Wei Xiao Bei immediately peeked through the gate and checked the direction where the sound came from. Those fish heads had returned again. Seeing the faint silhouette of the fish heads, Wei Xiao Bei lowered his head. The fish heads did not seem to be that smart. The fish heads had probably called out to their friends that stayed behind and did not receive a response. Despite this, they did not put up their guard at all and split up, to search the streets. Wei Xiao Bei hid in the corner while holding onto 2 clubs. He glanced at the courtyard gate from time to time, waiting for the fish heads to come over. Gotta. A surprised voice suddenly came from the fish heads who entered the neighboring apartment. The sound of running could immediately be heard entering the neighboring courtyard. The fish heads should have just found the corpses. Wei Xiao Bei quietly moved the chair and got on to take a look. He saw several fish heads quickly entering the apartment, and looked at the street, noticing that there were 2 fish heads still outside. It seemed that these 2 fish heads did not hear the surprised cry of their comrade, nor did they notice the other fish heads' movements. The 2 of them were currently wandering close to the small store as if they wanted to enter it. This is my chance. Wei Xiao Bei was not willing to sit and await for his death. From their quick appearance, it seemed like they had a camp close by, so they must be creatures that lived in a group. Their numbers might even be larger than it looked. Wei Xiao Bei needed to earn enough evolution points before those fish heads entered his apartment. Killing those fish heads that were by themselves was the best choice. The fish head sense of hearing was weak. Wei Xiao Bei waited for the fish heads to enter the neighboring apartment, before leaving a small crack on the apartment gate and walking out. At this time, one of the 2 fish heads had entered the Fat Mom's store, while the other was beating up the roll-up door, amusing itself with the falling dust. The situation looks good. The distance between his position and the small store was 30 meters. Wei Xiao Bei took more than 10 steps to sneak behind the fish head and fiercely smashed its head with the club in his right hand, while the club in his left hand followed closely behind. After the consecutive attack, the fish head's brain juice squirted out. Wei Xiao Bei was able to notice one thing about them this time: the fish heads were inferior to human beings in all aspects. This was the case for even their skulls; they were significantly more fragile than a human's. The movement of killing the fish head outside would inevitably startle the fish head inside. However, if the fish heads were not ambushing their prey, their reaction times were slow. The fish head inside held the club in its right hand and held the pack of hardtack on the left with a grin on its face. The moment it walked out and noticed the corpse of its comrade and Wei Xiao Bei, it did not even have the chance to raise its club and was struck down by Wei Xiao Bei's club. The fish head was not even able to retaliate from Wei Xiao Bei's attack, letting out its dying breath. "That's two." Wei Xiao Bei picked up the bloodied hardtack and walked in the store. He placed all the remaining hardtacks and mineral water into his backpack. For these next few moments, he might not have the chance to go back to his apartment to hide anymore, so he quickly prepared enough food and water for himself. However, Wei Xiao Bei noticed that the fish head still hadn't come out of the apartment after leaving the store. He began to think. What are those fish heads doing? Wei Xiao Bei returned to his courtyard gate and closed it properly. He couldn't help but be curious as he lied down at the edge of the wall and looked outside. A fish head came out from the apartment at this point of time. It held the club on its right, while holding something on the left, gnawing on it happily. Wei Xiao Bei squinted his eyes. After the fish head walked closer, Wei Xiao Bei was finally able to see what it was holding. It was an arm with scales. The fish head was without a doubt eating the arm of its own brethren. Wei Xiao Bei almost vomited when he saw this. There was a proverb that went, "Even wild beasts look after their young." It meant that dogs would never eat dog meat, and humans would never eat human meat. If this line was crossed, then it was suitably called a monster. Any normal person, who saw this scene, would definitely have a stomachache. At the very least though, this was better than seeing humans eating humans. Soon, the fish heads appeared one after the other from the apartment. The last three that came out carried the corpses of the dead fish heads, walking across to the other side of the street. These three damaged corpses would probably become a part of their food reserves. The remaining four fish heads began wandering around the streets again. They noticed two more fish head corpses after moving close to the small store. The fish head leader seemed to be angry, grumbling on the spot. It then assigned two fish heads to carry the corpses away. The leader and the remaining fish heads split up and knocked on all the doors one by one, as if they were searching for the murderer. The matter of having 5 fish heads killed seemed to have completely no effect on the fish heads, as they still did not put up their guards at all. This undoubtedly gave Wei Xiao Bei another chance. Wei Xiao Bei opened the blocked courtyard gate a bit and waited for the fish head to knock on the gate. He then used his left hand to quickly open it and smashed the club in his right hand on its head. Wei Xiao Bei had become adept at using the club after killing the previous 5 fish heads. In just one hit, the fish head stood sent into a daze and then was immediately smashed by Wei Xiao Bei's club again. The sound of its skull cracking could be heard. The fish head, unable to remain upright, fell to the ground. A crack on its head could be seen leaking out blood and brain juice onto the ground around it. After killing this fish head, he was noticed by the fish head leader. Wei Xiao Bei picked up the club on the ground and immediately charged at the fish head leader with clubs in both hands. The fish head leader was much stronger than a normal fish head. Wei Xiao Bei quickly smashed down the club in his left hand when he got close, but was blocked by the fish head leader's club. Despite this, the club in Wei Xiao Bei's right hand was able to smash down on the leader's shoulder. However, he never would have imagined what followed after. When the fish head leader was hit, it opened its mouth and sprayed water towards Wei Xiao Bei. Although it only seemed like a water jet, Wei Xiao Bei did not let down his guard. He quickly leaned his head sideways, but it still slightly touched his cheek. Wei Xiao Bei immediately felt pain on his cheek, as if his cheek was burning. Without any hesitation, he used all his strength to swing down the club again. This powerful attack created a dent in the fish head leader's skull, causing blood and brain juice to splatter everywhere. This attack had used all of Wei Xiao Bei's strength, and all that splattered out landed all over his body. Luckily, he had already been through a similar experience, so he did not vomit on the spot. Nonetheless, he was still disgusted by it. This attack, naturally, had left Wei Xiao Bei powerless, so he directly sat down on the ground, ignoring how dirty it was. He wanted to take this chance to rest his body. He unconsciously touched his left cheek. There was a sharp pain despite his light touch, and blood had stained his hand. He finally understood that the power behind the jet of water from the fish head leader was nothing to laugh at. Normally, water at high pressure could at most send a person flying, but the water jet sprayed by the fish head leader was like a knife of water. If Wei Xiao Bei did not quickly decide to lean his head, then a hole would have probably appeared through it. He would then lose the power to retaliate and instantly become a corpse. Compared to normal fish heads, this fish head leader had given him 40 evolution points. This really reflected the fish head leader's strength. After all, this kind of secret water jet attack would leave most opponents dead or disabled. Wei Xiao Bei, after regaining his strength, could suddenly smell a fragrance in the air. This smell, it seems familiar, but it's also a little strange. Wei Xiao Bei frowned. After taking in the fragrance for a few moments, he squatted down and used his knife to cut open the fish head. He dug around for a little before pulling out a solid blue meatball from the fish head leader's throat. The fragrance came out from this solid blue meatball. This seemed to be very similar to the thunderworm electric ball, but instead, this one smelled more like water. Wei Xiao Bei closed his eyes and concentrated on the status panel in his mind. Name, Wei Xiao Bei. Race, human. Gender, male. Age, 21. Creature rank, 1 star. Status, the average adult male status value is 10. Strength, 11, muscle, 12, sturdiness, 10. Agility, 9.75, hand-eye coordination, 9, flexibility, 11, reflex, 11, balance, 8. Vitality, 10, health, 9, endurance, 11. Intelligence, 7, learning, 6, reasoning, 8. Awareness, 9.25, willpower, 12, judgment, 8, perception, 7, intuition, 10. Charm, 7.2, courage, 10, persuasiveness, 7, character, 7, leadership, 5, appearance, 7. Skills, shooting, intermediate, military boxing, intermediate, electrical work, beginner. Special skill, release electricity, maximum strength 8.5 volts. Maximum current 1.8 mA. This skill was formed after Wei Xiao Bei ate the thunderworm electric ball. Maintaining a constant output for a long period could allow this skill to level up. Using this while exercising would stimulate strength and slowly increase agility. Evolution points, 100. Items on hand, Fishman water ball. His evolution point had reached 100 thanks to the fish head leader giving him 40 points. The blue meatball in his hand was called the Fishman water ball in the items on hand category. Moreover, the real name of a fish head was Fishman. Wei Xiao Bei concentrated on the Fishman water ball, and an explanation popped up. Fishman water ball, the source of an elite fishman's strength. Elite fishmen used this to shoot up to 3 sharp water jets per day. Not poisonous. 3 sharp water jets. Wei Xiao Bei recalled the previous situation, a lingering fear appeared in his heart. Luckily, I was able to deal with it decisively, otherwise, if that elite fishman sprayed 2 more jets of water, I would have most likely not been able to dodge them. Not poisonous. Wei Xiao Bei ignored the body on the ground, returning back to his room and immediately swallowed the fishman water ball. Compared to the disgusting flavor of the thunderworm electric ball, the fishman water ball tasted like a flavorless ice cube. In a flash, it melted into an ice-cold liquid as if it had been thrown into a furnace, disappearing as he swallowed it. Wei Xiao Bei lied down on the bed after swallowing the fishman water ball with a feeling of anticipation. The elite fishman's ability to shoot out a jet of water was not bad. If he could obtain this special ability, then his future battles would be a lot more easier. After lying down for a while, his body still did not exhibit any change at all. The only thing that had changed was that his evolution points increased from 100 to 120 points. Wei Xiao Bei sat up and sighed. Without a doubt, the fishman water ball did not give him any special ability and only converted into 20 evolution points. This meant that the elite fishman had given him a total of 60 evolution points, so all in all, it really was not that bad. Wei Xiao Bei pondered for a bit. If he fought with a single fishman, he would win 100% of the time, but the amount of energy he used would be a lot. If he met an elite fishman or a group of more than 5 fishmen, he would definitely be in danger. Which attribute to put the evolution points in was his final problem. In the end, Wei Xiao Bei concentrated on his muscle attribute. His muscle attribute immediately increased from 12 to 13 points. After using 100 evolution points, his muscle attribute increased by 1 point, making his strength 11.5 points. Wei Xiao Bei could distinctly feel all his muscles contracting and spasming. Wei Xiao Bei's forehead was instantly covered in beads of sweat from the pain he was feeling. He curled his body into a ball and rolled around on the bed trying to distract himself from the pain. After 10 minutes, Wei Xiao Bei sat back up with his entire body drenched in sweat. He felt incredibly weak after his muscles spasmed out of control. His muscles did not seem to expand that much compared to before, but he could feel that he was definitely stronger than before. The result of increasing his muscle attribute was very clear. The amount of strength he was able to exert had become stronger. This was a progressive growth, leaving Wei Xiao Bei with a bit of expectation for the next evolution point allocation. Hunger did not only appear due to using his special skills, allocating evolution points resulted in the same. Wei Xiao Bei immediately ate 4 pieces of hardtack and drank 2 bottles of mineral water. Only then was he able to suppress his hunger. There were still 20 evolution points left, but Wei Xiao Bei did not touch them and decided wait until he accumulated more. After resting a bit, Wei Xiao Bei once again went back behind the courtyard wall to stand guard. The ones that returned this time were not only the first 3 that left, but all 5 of them. After increasing his strength, Wei Xiao Bei had an easier time dealing with the rest of the fishmen. However, for safety reasons, Wei Xiao Bei did not fight them head-on. Instead, he attacked them one by one when they were split up. These 5 fishmen had given Wei Xiao Bei 50 evolution points. The club that Wei Xiao Bei had been using broke into pieces when he killed the 5th fishman by smashing the club on its head, splitting the club into 2. Breaking one club didn't really matter. By then, Wei Xiao Bei had killed many fishmen, so the amount of clubs he had obtained was quite a lot. As soon as he returned to his room, he was suddenly hit by a wave of dizziness, so he quickly laid down on the bed and fell asleep. Fight as were ordered. Wei Xiao Bei's mobile phone alarm went off, waking up Wei Xiao Bei from his sleep. He shook his confused head and noticed that he had already returned to reality. He quickly washed his face and opened the door. The day was a Saturday. As it was on the weekend, the corridor was quiet as everyone enjoyed their hard-earned break. The unstable door squeaked open as Wei Xiao Bei left to start another day. Wei Xiao Bei just remembered that he was on the middle shift, so he was working from 6 in the evening. But since he was already awake, he did not plan to go back to sleep. Wei Xiao Bei walked out of the apartment with a hungry stomach. He wanted to eat breakfast outside, as eating hardtacks or hardtack-based food every day was probably going to make him go crazy. Wei Xiao Bei heard a noise from far away just as he sat down in front of a small snack stand. He turned around and couldn't help but drop his jaw. Good Lord! A group of more than 20 youths with steel pipes were chasing and shouting to kill a middle-aged man wearing a martial arts uniform. Chuihu City was not the provincial capital of Sichuan, but it was one of the top 5 cities with the highest economy. A certain said phrase highlighted Chuihu City's position in Sichuan. The north has 2 metropolises, but the south puts forth Chuihu. A situation like this appearing in the middle of the street of a large city rarely occurred. After all, frightening hooligans did not dare oppose the law. Seeing the fiendish group, the customers hid to the sides of the stand. Even the owner of the stand did not care for his belongings and hid far away. Without even approaching Wei Xiao Bei's location, the middle-aged man had been pushed to a corner by the sheer amount of breakfast stands blocking him. A fight soon erupted. The middle-aged man was somewhat amazing. He turned his body and kicked the baldy in front of him, sending him flying, and knocking down 3 more people behind him. This surprised the youths, making them stop in their tracks. The middle-aged man knew that there were many obstacles in the street, making it difficult to run away. As a result, he picked up a bench to deal with the youths after sending the baldy flying. On the other hand, the breakfast stand owners standing far away wanted to put away their chairs and tables, in order to avoid any damage that would follow. At the same time, a few diners were already calling the cops. However, those youths could not even be talked to. Most of them were chasing the middle-aged man, while some of them had split from the group to surround him and were threatening the diners to stop filming. An old man had even become one of the casualties, as he was hit on the shoulder and limply fell to the ground. This Black Tiger gang is simply too arrogant. How could they just bash people in the middle of the street? That's right. Even the Zhao Lao San was not this unruly. A few diners, who stood close to Wei Xiao Bei, were murmuring. After listening to their words, Wei Xiao Bei was able to form an image of the so-called Black Tiger Gang. The Black Tiger Gang was just a newly formed group. They had gone on a rampage and sent Zhao Lao San packing, and now viewed this district as their property. Their reputation had increased due to their willingness to attack and kill people. The store owners did not even dare refuse them when they asked for protection money. The reason that they were chasing the middle-aged man was probably because he had offended them. However, chasing to kill someone in the middle of the streets was far too arrogant. The middle-aged man fought hand-to-hand with the members of the Black Tiger Gang while the diners were speaking. Wei Xiao Bei looked at the middle-aged man's body. He saw that the middle-aged man had a strong body that could send those hooligans flying from time to time. Wei Xiao Bei, deep down, was interested. Wei Xiao Bei knew how to fight with military boxing, but he did not understand much about traditional martial arts. He could only tell that the middle-aged man's martial art was strong from the fight. More than 20 hooligans had been beaten into a sorry state by him. Every attack he launched had sent those hooligans flying, causing them to fall to the ground. At that moment, the amount of people fighting the middle-aged man seemed to become overwhelming. The location was also filled with chairs and tables. In a moment of carelessness, he had been hit by a steel pipe from the hooligan that was lying on the ground. The middle-aged man frowned and his forehead beaded with sweat. Leg injuries had a huge effect on middle-aged people. Because of this, the middle-aged man had slowly been taking more hits from the steel pipes. The hooligans were slowly gaining the advantage. Wei Xiao Bei saw that the middle-aged man was now on the point of collapse. Whether it was because of the thought of becoming this person's apprentice, or because of the hooligan's unfair methods, he could not continue to just sit and watch. He carried a bench and charged towards a hooligan, whose back was facing him. If this person was a fishman, Wei Xiao Bei would have just directly smashed the bench on his head. However, no matter how big his crimes were, he was still a human, so Wei Xiao Bei could not just kill him. He struck the hooligan on the neck, causing the hooligan to go weak. Wei Xiao Bei had already defeated 3 hooligans before the rest of the gang noticed him. As a result, the hooligans surrounded Wei Xiao Bei. Wei Xiao Bei did not have the energy to care about the middle-aged man anymore. 5 hooligans holding steel pipes charged towards Wei Xiao Bei, but he was only able to force them away by making a sweep with the bench. These hooligans were not weak, in fact they were most likely trained. As a result, Wei Xiao Bei did not dare get too close to them, otherwise he knew he might not be able to defend himself. This is the police. Hands up. This is the police. Do not move or I will fire. Just as Wei Xiao Bei was about to run out of energy, the sound of a car siren appeared, a door opened and a loud voice followed after. The police had arrived. Just like what was previously said, Chuehu City was one of the top cities in Sichuan. How could it tolerate criminal gangs from rampaging through the middle of the street in broad daylight? As a result, the police quickly rushed over as soon as someone reported this incident. The hooligans did not dare continue on after seeing the police arrive. They all turned around and tried to run away. Even the middle-aged man, who was attacked by the hooligans, tried to get up with all his might. Out of the 20 over hooligans, only a few lucky ones were able to escape. The ones remaining were arrested and those that tried running away even after being arrested experienced more suffering. Wei Xiao Bei and the middle-aged man were also cuffed and locked in the same prison cell as those hooligans. The more a person struggled, the more the handcuffs would get tighter. The cold handcuffs could bring a person a new understanding of the feeling of wrist pain. Luckily, a few brave diners took the initiative to testify and followed in the police car. Luckily, Wei Xiao Bei was the first person to say his statement when they arrived at the police office. Okay, thank you for your cooperation. The young police officer, who recorded Wei Xiao Bei's testimony, let out a smile. After Wei Xiao Bei left the police office, he stood outside waiting for the middle-aged man and the diners who were willing to testify. Thank you for your testimony. Wei Xiao Bei shook the hand of the diner with a smile. No problem. However, you need to be careful. It is bad to provoke the Black Tiger gang. Those diners, who were willing to testify, were not cowards, but they still warned Wei Xiao Bei and the middle-aged man. Everyone exchanged their phone numbers. The diners took the initiative to leave, leaving Wei Xiao Bei and the middle-aged man behind. Thank you for helping me. Are you alright? The middle-aged man looked at Wei Xiao Bei. No problem, ow. Wei Xiao Bei stretched his body, trying to show that he was fine. But then he suddenly felt a sharp pain from on his back. It was probably caused by his carelessness when he let a steel pipe hit him. Seeing Wei Xiao Bei's grin, the middle-aged man laughed and took out his phone to make a call. Little Wu, I am at the police office, come meet me. The middle-aged man then invited Wei Xiao Bei, how about we go to my dojo in a moment to apply medicine? Dojo? Wei Xiao Bei was excited, the middle-aged man's identity was close to his guess, so he nodded his head. Little Wu, who the middle-aged man called, quickly arrived driving a shabby minibus. The man, on the other hand, was much more energetic. His huge hands holding the steering wheel made it look as if he was playing with a toy. Master, what happened to you? Little Wu stuck his head out the window before he even stopped the car. He looked at the middle-aged man and impatiently asked. No problem. I was just targeted by those dogs of the Black Tiger gang. Let's get in the car. The middle-aged man opened the car door with the latter half of his sentence addressing Wei Xiao Bei. After getting on the car, Wei Xiao Bei found out that the middle-aged man was named Qing Bai Wu. He originated from Suzhou and had been practicing martial arts ever since he was a child. He had previously entered a renowned martial arts school 4th Bajiquan, in Zhangzhou Mengsuan. The reason he came to Chuehu City was to open a dojo, of which, his business was thriving. However, they were soon targeted by the Black Tiger gang, who came to collect protection fees. Collecting a protection fee from a dojo was simply a shameless and stupid thing to do from Cheng Baiwu's point of view. As a result, those hooligans, who came to collect protection fees, were beaten black and blue by him. The Black Tiger Gang had previously attempted revenge. Unfortunately, other than the students who paid to learn martial arts, the dojo also had his personal disciples. These personal disciples were different from the students. They had followed the ancient tradition of discipleship and would inherit their master's legacy and martial arts. Naturally, they were much more intimate with the master than normal students. It was just as they say, a teacher for a day, a father for life. This saying applied to these personal disciples. The one who drove the car was Little Wu, whose real name was Yao Wu. He was one of the 3 disciples under Cheng Baiwu. His nature seemed to be low-key as he had not spoken the entire ride. Creak. The minibus stopped in front of the alley. "We're here. Time to get off the car." Cheng Baiwu opened the door and took the lead to get down first. He walked a few steps into the alley and stopped. Wei Xiao Bei followed behind and saw a huge horizontal signboard with red letters written in calligraphy, Cheng Clan Baji Dojo. Loud shouts could be heard from within the open double doors beneath the sign. When Cheng Baiwu entered the door, a succession of voices could be heard inside. "Master, you have finally returned," said one of Cheng Baiwu's personal disciples. "Good day, Teacher Cheng," this came from one of the martial arts students. "Continue as you are." Cheng Baiwu was the master of the dojo, so his prestige was not small. With just one line, everyone returned back to punching and kicking. Yao Wu went back to park the car, so Wei Xiao Bei followed closely behind Cheng Baiwu. He curiously looked at everything in the yard. The alley outside was small, but the yard inside was not. After entering the big doors, there was an open space with sand on the ground to the left. A group of youngsters were training there while led by a young man. On the right was a space with limestone bricks and human-shaped wooden pillars. A few 18 to 19-year-old youths continuously knocked against these wooden pillars, while others were punching and kicking them. Wei Xiao Bei's eyes sparkled when he saw one corner of the wall. There was a huge tree planted there. A suntanned youth of about 25 years of age repeatedly leaning against the tree, and the leaves of the tree continuously shook. Iron Mountain Lean. Although Wei Xiao Bei had never learned martial arts before, there were many articles written about Bajiquan. Iron Mountain Lean was the most famous among Bajiquan's close combat techniques. It was said that if this skill was learned to its pinnacle, it was possible to send a person flying, as if they were being rammed by an elephant. The skill user would stick their bodies to the enemy, so it was impossible to block. Wei Xiao Bei began calculating. If he learned Bajiquan right now and used the power of the status panel, he could survive in the dust world with much more ease. By the time Wei Xiao Bei came back to his senses, Cheng Baiwu had already walked in the central hall and was looking at him with a smile. Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but blush in embarrassment as he quickly caught up. The central hall was a huge practice hall, with floors made from plastic. Sandbags were hung all over the place, and a weapons rack leaned on the wall with metallic weaponry. Among the weapons, Wei Xiao Bei was only able to identify the great spear and wooden staff. "Father! Are you alright?" Just as Wei Xiao Bei was looking around the entire place, he heard a clear and loud Oriole-like voice. He turned around and saw a girl. Her face was fresh and pure, and she had a well-proportioned body. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail, appearing somewhat heroic. She was currently grabbing Cheng Baiwu's arm and asking him with misty eyes. "Your father is fine, this little brother is slightly injured though. Go get the medicine." Cheng Baiwu laughed and rubbed the little girl's head, showering her with love. The ponytailed girl looked at Wei Xiao Bei with curiosity. After looking at the footprints on his body, she couldn't help but smile and entered the room. "This is my daughter Cheng Cc. She just passed the entrance exam to Chuehu University this year, so this old man came with her." University does not exist in reality or might have a different name in reality. Cheng Bai-Wu introduced the young girl with a smile. Wei Xiao Bei nodded his head while looking at the deep intimacy between father and daughter. Chuihu University was a famous university in China. Although it could not be compared to Peking University or Tsinghua University, it was not that far off. Being able to get in such a college was enough to call you an elite student. Wei Xiao Bei praised her wholeheartedly, making Cheng Bai-Wu laugh with satisfaction. From a father's perspective, gaining others' approval and flattery on his daughter's education was undoubtedly a happy thing. "Father, what are you talking about?" Cheng Cc walked over with a wine bottle with dark red liquid inside. "We are talking about you, of course." Cheng Wu Bai smiled and then spoke to Wei Xiao Bei. "Xiao Bei, take off your clothes." "Take off my clothes?" After hearing this, Wei Xiao Bei felt something missing from his brain. He was only wearing a t-shirt, removing it would leave him half naked. If the only person here was Cheng Bai-Wu, then he would not really care. However, Cheng Cc was also there, looking at him with curiosity. Wei Xiao Bei was simply not shameless enough to strip and show off his bare body in front of a young woman. As a result, he hesitantly looked at Cheng Cc, hoping that Cheng Bai-Wu would understand him. Luckily, Cheng Bai-Wu was understanding. He looked at Cheng Cc and told her, "Go to the kitchen and make preparations. Today, I will drink with younger brother Xiao Bei." Cheng Cc was not an idiot, so she naturally understood the reason why Cheng Bai-Wu was driving her out. She rolled her eyes at Wei Xiao Bei, moved her slender waist and turned around. She even muttered at the end, "With your small body, I wouldn't look at it even if you wanted me to look. You can't even compare with senior apprentice brother." Cheng Bai-Wu, feeling like he had lost a bit of face after hearing this, hurriedly shouted out, "You!" Cheng Cc quickly rushed off when hearing her father's voice, disappearing inside the practice hall. Cheng Bai-Wu lightly sighed, "This child sighs. She lost her mother as a child and I did not know how to discipline her. She would play with boys all the time. The more she grew, the more undisciplined she became. What am I going to do with her?" Wei Xiao Bei slightly blushed after hearing Cheng Bai-Wu's words. After all, it was hard for him to comment on this kind of family matter, so he just stayed silent. "Quick, take it off." Cheng Bai-Wu was like Xiang Lin saw. He would reminisce about the past and then suddenly, he urged Wei Xiao Bei after seeing that he hadn't stripped yet. Xiang Lin Saw is from a book named Xiang Lin Saw. She is a representative of Chinese laboring women whose lives were destroyed by feudal ethics. Wei Xiao Bei quickly took off his t-shirt. Cheng Bai-Wu looked at the blue bruise left by the steel pipe on Wei Xiao Bei's back. "Don't look down on your injury. It might not hurt now, but it will keep you awake when night comes." After saying this, Cheng Bai-Wu let Wei Xiao Bei lie down. He twisted the bottle cap and poured the red liquid in his hand, rubbing it over Wei Xiao Bei's back. Wei Xiao Bei immediately cried out when Cheng Bai-Wu rubbed his back. "It hurts. Save me." Before he came here, Wei Xiao Bei did not expect that he would be shouting like this. "What are you shouting for? Are you still a man if you can't endure this much pain?" Cheng Bai-Wu did not even relax due to Wei Xiao Bei's shout. On the contrary, he even applied more pressure to prevent Wei Xiao Bei from shrugging him off. At this time, a female chuckle could be heard from the back. Thinking that Cheng Cc might be hiding in the back, enjoying this scene, Wei Xiao Bei immediately shut his mouth. "This is so embarrassing." After he shifted his attention, his 12 points of willpower exhibited its significance. "This pain is nothing." That said, Cheng Cc did not look like his father at all. Cheng Bai-Wu's face was squarish. If Cheng Cc also looked like him, it would have been an extremely tragic thing. Wei Xiao Bei became a bit cheerful, but soon enough, another wave of pain came from his back. He couldn't help but grit his teeth, unable to maintain his short burst of cheerfulness. After rubbing for a while, Cheng Baiwu finally released Wei Xiao Bei. He wiped the sweat on his forehead and shouted to the back, "Stupid girl, I know you are behind there laughing in secret. Why haven't you gotten your father a towel?" Coming. Sure enough, Cheng Si was hiding at the back, peeking. After being scolded by Cheng Baiwu, she quickly grabbed a towel and ran over with a smile. Young people are great. Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help looking at her stupidly. However, he quickly came to his senses and quickly covered his body with the t-shirt, like a girl after having their body accidentally seen. "Well, don't you have a bit of muscle?" Cheng Si spoke. He couldn't tell whether or not she was teasing him. She curled her lips and handed the towel to her father. Then quickly turned around and walked away, running away in case she would be scolded again. Wei Xiao Bei, after being treated, felt that his body became lighter. The pain on his back was gradually disappearing. When he saw Cheng Baiwu's sweat, he knew that he was quite exhausted. Wei Xiao Bei did not know why this was so, but he could guess the treatment was quite strenuous. The strength he used when struggling was not small after all. "Thank you, Uncle Cheng." Wei Xiao Bei immediately thanked him. However, he still felt somewhat apologetic. Although he had helped Cheng Baiwu before, Cheng Baiwu did not actually need any help with his martial arts skills. On the contrary, his current tiredness seemed to be even more severe compared to when he was fighting the hooligans. "What are you thanking me for?" "Speaking of this, I still have to thank you." "Oh right, I want to ask, seeing that your foundation is not bad, have you previously learned martial arts?" Cheng Baiwu asked with a smile while wiping his sweat. "I was previously in the army and learned military boxing." "Does Kindequan count?" Kindequan literally means enemy capturing fist. Their relationship was better than when they first met, so Wei Xiao Bei had changed to casual speech. "Military boxing is fine. It can be considered a standard practice. Kindequan is also not bad. It was born from Bajiquan." Cheng Baiwu began lecturing Wei Xiao Bei. Only just now did Wei Xiao Bei find out that Kindequan came from Bajiquan. It was no wonder that he felt a faint sense of familiarity when he saw the training youths. Naturally, Kindequan coming from Bajiquan did not mean that they were the same thing. Cheng Baiwu became slightly hesitant after speaking. He looked at Wei Xiao Bei as if he had something hard to say. "Uncle Cheng, if there are any problems, please say it. There is no need to mumble." Wei Xiao Bei couldn't help but smile when he saw Cheng Baiwu's movements. He even thought that Cheng Baiwu wanted to ask him to take his last name and become his son-in-law. Although Cheng Si was slightly prideful, her appearance was not bad, she was indeed a true beauty. Moreover, he did not have any ill feelings for her. On the contrary, he even had a good impression of her.